Welcome back to the kick-off. I'm back with the lads. Josh is on his way from... what was the final score again, Joey?
It was 4-2. Was it 4-2? It's 4-2.
4-2 to Wolves at Stamford Bridge. We're really looking forward to seeing Josh's cheerful little face. You got the one-liners about Reece James, the ghost of Reece James. We're going to be doing a bit of a chat because I think that the question later will be: is it time for Poch to potentially lose his job? We've got the Manchester United game that we've just watched. Manchester United 3, West Ham 0. What we making? Are Man United coming back here? What the fuck's going on?
Listen, it looks like they're turning a corner, doesn't it? They've not lost a game so far this year, albeit the opposition hasn't been great. The one game that they've dropped points in being Spurs, and obviously that's a game you'd fancy them to, have a real hard time in when you look at Newport, Wigan, the sides they've beat. But West Ham are a good one, and they've done it in good fashion. And no matter what you say, the names that we were looking at earlier on in the season, there was stats floating about how this player or that player had outscored Man United's entire attack, and you can't really bring up them stats anymore because by hook or by crook, these boys are starting to score goals. Højlund's starting to look like he's getting there.
Do you know what it is, right? We all said at the start of the season, well, there was a bit of a dip in form. I think his confidence did take a bit of a knock when that little fella was going viral for fucking singing about him, God bless him. And I'm glad to see he's doing well for himself, by the way. But Højlund actually he looked the part, and it's finally the finishing touches coming in. What I have to say, though, is I watched Man United today against West Ham, and I wasn't impressed in the slightest. And people are going to sit there and go, oh, you hate Man United. Just looking at the stats real quick. West Ham had 22 shots to Man United's 12 at Old Trafford. And right before Man United scored their second goal, which was a deflection, I think, Emerson goes through on goal after, I think it was him or the other guy who dispossessed Harry Maguire. Classic Harry Maguire, slow to react, gives the ball up, they throw a goal. You just think it just fucking square it. Emerson smashes it over the bar. And we laughed at this table and went, watch Man United go and score immediately right now. And it was so predictable, but as much as Man United's results and form are looking a little better, and the fact that they won't have Champions League football, the fact that they are getting a few players back, I will expect them to have a bit of an upturn in results. But there's nothing about that team right now that tells me that Ten Hag is the guy, and there's when you're watching them play, you're not I see what you're trying. No, it's just the fact that you've got some more talented footballers in regards to being in front of goal and shot accuracy.
It feels to me like they're getting the best out of the level they've got at the moment. You don't look at that team and go, yeah, you're going to push on now. But that being said, look, back-to-back wins against Wolves and West Ham are decent results.
I disagree, I think they're not getting the best out of the players they got. When I look at them, at the end of the day, they've got to look at their nearest rivals, their arch enemies, Man City and Liverpool. Look at the football they play. Look how they dominate teams. Look how they pass it about. Look how they play on the front foot. Manchester United still, even with winning these games, are not showing any signs of dominating matches, in my opinion. We still can't see the style of football. So they can keep getting the wins. That's good. That papers over cracks. That gets them up the table. And their fans are going to celebrate that. Okay, cool. But in the long run, you're going to want your team to play kind of how Liverpool or Man City are playing, dominating teams and making sure that at the tail end of the season, they're in the top 2, top 3 positions. Even with Man United winning, what are they on now? They scored 3-0. Okay, they won 3-0. What's their goal difference now? Is it just +1?
I think it's now finally not.
Is it nil or +1 or I don't know what?
It's -1 still.
It's still in deficit.
This is what I mean. When you look at Liverpool at this stage of the season and Man City, they're up in the +30s. And so Man United fans, you can take this cool. I understand Højlund's getting on the score sheet. Garnacho, your young talent's getting goals. And it looks better than it did a couple weeks ago. That's all good. But soon, you're going to be going into your 3rd season with Ten Hag. 3rd season. And I don't see anything. Look at Spurs. And I don't want to make it about Spurs because I'm a Spurs fan. But in Ange's 1st season, it looks like we're way ahead of schedule already than Man United are. When you watch Spurs play, you see a style of football. You see what we're trying to do. Even with results, I do not see that with Man United. I don't know what they're trying to do.
6 points ahead Spurs are, and in terms of goal difference, it's +14 compared to -1. And we are seeing patterns of play emerging. When you talk about the level, the player that Manchester United have got, I mean, today they had a lot of players back fit. Varane swapped out for Harry Maguire, but that's still an 80 million spend that they put on Maguire. I know he's not that level really, but the spine of this player, like these players, Casemiro played alongside Meno. That's like a solid centre midfield in theory. Like everyone's raving about Meno. Casemiro's got all the experience. If I'm a Man United fan, I want Meno next to a Casemiro to learn from him. Bruno Fernandes, Højlund, Rashford. There's so much quality in this team. Garnacho's coming good, but it doesn't look it when you're watching them play.
Yeah.
The final, the ball goes in the back of the net, but there's nothing about the rest of the football that impresses me at all.
Do you know what they remind me of? As an Arsenal fan, they remind me of us under Emery. There were games under, like we got good results under Emery. I think we finished fifth.
We got the European Cup final and Europa League.
Got the Europa League final. Got some wins, but there were games when good for you.
Memories are all they have.
Listen, I've got to be careful today, Matt. I can't banter these guys too hard because I've got to watch Arsenal play Liverpool. But we'd get results, and then there'd be weird games where we'd concede 30 chances to Wolves. Do you know what I mean? And I like. People would, like, there were stats guys who were going, look, you might be getting results, Arsenal, but this ain't working. And really, where we had to have faith back then is we had some young players who came through who looked special, and I will say Meno looks special, but we had the wrong coach.
I think that's what this is. I think Man United have such good players.
And we had ageing players on bad contracts. Yeah. And what it took is a coach with a philosophy to come in. It took a bit of bravery in the boardroom to go, we're ripping some of this shit up because it ain't working. And then we had to start fresh. 2 8th place finishes, but now I think anyone looking at Arsenal would go, there's a plan there, there's something working there, they developed the young players.
There's no one going to give Ten Hag this checkbook again.
Like, well, that's the first
so
thing.
So that's a vote of no confidence from the get-go. So I completely think that they should do what Arsenal did. I think they should look at Garnacho, Højlund and Meno and these young players and go, right, that's a spine.
That's the future.
Let's fucking build around this lot. Because some of this lot are class, but they don't play like it. And I think with a proper footballing manager there who actually can build a style, you will have something like Arteta's can build.
But it's the strangest thing about Ten Hag. I watched him play a style at Ajax. This is a lot. There were people in comments saying you've hated on Ten Hag all season. Mate, before he went to Man United and when things were shit with Arteta and I thought Arteta might go, he's who I wanted at Arsenal.
Yeah.
Because I remember watching his Ajax team get to Champions League semi-finals, playing with false nines, midfielders scoring goals, fullbacks inverting, young players coming through. And I was like, wow. In terms of coaching in Europe, he's done it under Pep. He's worked with good managers. This guy knows what he's doing. He's come to Man United. It's like there's a different bloke there.
Do you know how people use Arteta as the example of like, see, that's what can happen? Ten Hag's the opposite of that. Like, you know, when we talk about Xabi Alonso coming to manage in England, I'm like, yeah, but Ten Hag looked good overseas. Do you know?
Yeah.
Like, he's the cautionary tale to me because he's an absolute fraud.
Yeah, but imagine Xabi Alonso comes to manage Liverpool and then after a year in the job goes, we'll never play Leverkusen football. It's like, well, that's sort of why we fucking bought you here, mate. You can't say that. You know what I mean?
You don't have the players for it, I'm afraid.
And
well, we've given you 400 million. Yeah. How can we not have the players?
And they're all your players.
Yeah.
Honestly.
I do think, though, if you get inside the mind of a Man United fan, right, and I'm like late 20s from South London, so I'm the perfect mould of a Man United.
You've met a lot of them.
I've met a lot of Man United
you live
fans,
next door
right?
to him.
So, like, if you get yourself in the mind of a Man United fan, they're going to be looking at it and they're going to be thinking, right, kick off are giving us stick again. We've won back-to-back games. But realistically, if you're a Man United fan and you're more optimistic and you don't want to even question the possibility that your manager's doing a bad job, you might look at things and you might go, right, we're 5 points worse off than we were last season. Some would argue, if you take away the fact their name's Man United, some would argue that they overachieved a little bit last season, especially with how it started off. Then you're going to look at things and go, right, barring maybe Chelsea and Newcastle, we're definitely in the mix for who has the worst injury crisis or has had the worst injury crisis. The fans didn't pick the Sancho situation. The fans didn't pick the Antony situation. So if you're a Man United fan, I think that there's still enough for you to want to persevere and you to want to give your backing to Ten Hag. But what I'd like to know is, when does it change in terms of, like, say it stays like this and they finish 8th, 7th or whatever, is Ten Hag looking to then do something to save his job? Because surely at the end of the season, you look at that, if they finish 7th or 8th and you go, well, it's not good enough.
He can't. If he finished 7th or 8th, for me, he can't keep his job. That's insanity. Like, you don't go, where did they finish last season? Third. You don't go from third and a cup, albeit the League Cup, to then potentially no cup and 7th and bottom of your Champions League group, to me,
and money wasted.
And a lot of money
Loads
spent.
of money wasted.
Like, loads
I
of money
think that's
spent.
the worst thing about Ten Hag. That's the one thing that I've argued for months and months with Man United fans about the style of play, this, that and the other. None of them can defend his transfers. They have been horrendous.
Transfers are horrendous. But
if you've got a manager who doesn't know how to spend money, what have you got?
Well, they need a director of football,
Yeah.
and everyone's been saying that for years. And it's absolutely crazy that they've spent the money they have the way that they have done. They're sixth at the moment.
But that excuse, though,
I'm not saying that's good. I'm not saying sixth is enough. I completely agree with Craig that if you've gone from third in a cup to sixth, it's not good enough. I think they will get Europa League. I think they'll get sixth.
But that excuse of but he needs a director of football. Yeah, but if his talent ID is this bad, that's where I don't trust you in any sense, because it's hardly like your coachings look great. You're not playing great football. Your man management style is consistently having issues. So, look, I'm not trying to rain on the Man United fans are going to be happy today they got the 3 points, and that's cool. And that's good for today, right? Sometimes as football fans, you just want to put your feet up, watch match of the day and be happy. Cool, no problem. But long term, I mean, I think that the Man United fans seem to want to stick with him because they almost just don't want to have to go through all of this again and start believing in a new guy and a new philosophy. But I'm not seeing enough right now. And look, I think they can potentially creep into the top 5, which potentially could give them Champions League football, depending on what the rules are, because we know that this is up in the air because of the Champions League situation. But I mean, I'm hoping they keep him. I want them to keep Ten Hag because I think that more of these man management problems will continue to happen. More of these huge drop-offs in the middle of the start of the season will continue to happen. But I mean, if they're happy with them, fair enough.
I can't agree with what you said about getting 5th. I don't think they're getting nowhere near 5th. What's there between there and Spurs?
They're 6 points. They're 6 points off, which I'm just saying it's a possibility.
It's mad to think they've only won I think they've won one less game than Spurs have this season. But you look at how we're looking at Spurs and the excitement. Listen, take away any allegiances to the club we support. I like to watch Spurs. Really like to watch Spurs play. I like to watch Aston Villa play. I don't like to watch Man United play. I don't play that good of football. I don't really like to watch them. By the way, before you get at me in the comments, I don't like watching Chelsea play either. So I'm not saying this from a high horse. I'm just saying they're not an exciting team, really, are they?
How do you win 3-0 at home and we're looking at it, like you said, and it just wasn't exciting?
How many times has this happened, though? I remember the Everton game. They scored 3 against Everton earlier this season. Might have been 3-0, actually.
One of them was the goal of the season as well, by the way. Let's not forget.
And I remember being at the end of that game and feeling exactly like I do now, how have you won that? And how have you looked so bad winning 3-0?
Look at the goals today. One was and listen, goals are goals. I'm not trying to rain on Man United's parade. Like we said, they scored 3, got a clean sheet and got the 3 points. Man United fans are going to be like, we're just hammering them for no reason. But I'm looking at the goals. Garnacho's 2 goals. One was a huge deflection. That was the first one. And then the second one, Calvin Phillips just loses the ball. It's a turnover. And then they just hit you on the break and stick it in the net. It's nothing
that's their football, man.
They're not playing great football.
I can give credit to the kid, Hoyland. I think he looks sharp. He looks aggressive.
He does.
He's exciting.
He's a handful as well.
Yeah, he's one of the most exciting players in the league. And you just got watching them thinking, what if Bruno Fernandes was playing well behind you?
What if he was getting service? What if he was getting service?
Hoyland's
all right.
getting
balls into the box?
He's all right. He's not Richarlison, but he's
oh, man.
But he's looking exciting. I think Garnacho is exciting on the ball, but Rashford again, another. He came back after his last performance where he scored, and it was point proven. It's well, not really. You're still having a massively underwhelming season, and then in this game, here comes Josh.
There he is, the boy.
And then in this game, Rashford was pretty flat as well. But look, I don't want to be completely negative because the Man United won 3-0. Hoyland was impressive for the goal. I've got to give credit. I am excited by him. Josh, pretty bad day at the office, that.
Yeah. What a manager we've got. I've always. And do you know what? Do you know what? For everyone watching, right? I've always said that Poch should go. He wasn't the man for the job. I've said that I'm absolutely sick of it.
No.
And yeah, I've just been to the bridge. Good to see you all. I really don't like football anymore. I think I might go and watch the Six Nations.
Just to catch up with from where we were Wednesday night. Which one of those players do you believe in?
Yeah. Do you know what's funny, mate? We were laughing at the comments about that, about us all going, yeah, I've got a few of those wrong. And do you know what? I think I'd be quite happy to have another clear out. I'd be happy to get rid of them all again and spend another £1 billion.
Well, we got good news for you because we're going to need to have a clear out then. Got an FFP situation looming.
Rebuild number 3 coming up.
Josh, what was the atmosphere like up there?
Absolutely horrendous, mate. Booze at half time. We're back to last year all over again. Booze at half time. It was awful. We actually did a song. I don't know if you've seen this on Twitter. The Wolves fans have gone, "You are absolute shit." They're singing a song, "You're absolute shit," and we've joined in. We've literally gone, we know we're shit.
No way.
We're literally, the Matthew Harding end is literally chanting, "We are shit."
What does this mean for Poch?
What does this mean? No.
What does this mean for Poch in the bigger
picture? No, Poch didn't join in the chant.
Yeah.
He led it.
I think. Look, I don't want to, bomb rush your topics, right? But I have to say,
no, we're doing Chelsea now.
Oh, we're doing Chelsea now. Okay, brilliant,
right.
Fantastic. I think. What does it mean for Pochettino? Well, Pochettino probably was gone at the end of the season anyway, with how it's going. I think if you look at the stadium, the belief in our fans, so many people have said, yeah, he's all right, but probably not the long-term guy anyway, so we should probably get rid of him at the end of the season anyway, regardless of today's result, right?
I thought that was keeping him in a job, the fact he's the long-term guy.
Yeah, but this
is the thing that we kind of all agreed about the Spurs history that he had there was he is a good guy for getting a lot out of what seems to be a limited squad, especially young players, developing them. But the problem is when I'm watching Chelsea, and I've watched them quite a lot this season now, I'm not seeing any progress or evidence of him getting a tune out of players. Like, you, apart from Palmer, you're like, I watched Chelsea.
Would that have just happened anyway? Regardless.
No, that's exactly why I think
when you say
when it's only one player playing well, he's doing that of his own accord, right?
Mate, the tactics today just tell you everything you need to know about Pochettino, and they're actually endemic of our entire season, right? We've come into a game which is, and this is a bit of banter here, but it's a 6-pointer. It's against a team that is directly below us, and they're now above us, right?
Yeah,
it's a huge game for our season. It's something against our direct rivals.
You might not get 11th now. Jesus.
Well, I know how awful. I know exactly. Fucking hell, what has my football club become? But he set the team up in basically a 4-2-2-2, right? He set basically a 4-4-2. And we know that the midfielders are getting exposed. We just know they're getting exposed. And it's just endemic of our entire season that in a crunch game like this, he hasn't made the tactical changes that he does. And for me, you know, Joey and I, we're positive Chelsea fans. We want to see this come good and we want to see some continuity here. But for me, today was the last straw.
Nah.
Really? It was the last straw. Mate. We've come into this game. We need to win this game. It is so important for us. Yeah. And he's set up in a way that has just left every sort of weakness available. He's let Thiago Silva get runs on him. You know, Pedro Neto has made Thiago Silva look like he's a fucking, a year 11 player. You know, he looks absolutely rubbish. He looks like a school kid. And then you've got wing backs that are sort of super attacking with one holding midfielder in front of them. Like one Caicedo, look, I completely understand why people might question how good Caicedo is. He had an unbelievable pass day, but made 2 horrendous errors, right? But you have to say, if that's the case, and he's a young kid, he's 23 years old, don't put him by himself. Don't have him as the lone player in a base midfield. Put Enzo or Gallagher or all 3 of them as a line together.
But can I just say, he's not good. Pochettino has shown so far in his time at Chelsea, it can improve, but at the minute, he's not good at giving instructions to young players and having young players take on board those instructions. Wow. That's what he's shown in his time at Chelsea so far. I think that Cole Palmer would have done it anyway, but look at our disciplinary record. Look at today. Malo Gusto, as soon as he got booked, I said, he'll be getting sent off then, and he should have been sent off. Malo Gusto should have been sent off. He got subbed off to stop him getting sent off and having to serve a ban.
Craig, I was there. Mate, I completely understand where you're coming from. Well, I was there. I like Pochettino. I thought he was the best candidate that we could have possibly had for improving young players and getting a bit of a squad together.
He was the best man on the market.
The problem is exactly the problem is that he hasn't done it.
No.
I've been waiting for it.
Listen, you guys are the Chelsea fans. You watch Chelsea way more than me. Like you said, you was at the game. I understand that. The only thing I will say is, it just feels like at Chelsea more than any other club, and I've said this before on this show earlier on in the season, you get less time than any other club in the league. Like at Man United, you ain't got a lot of time to prove yourself. Certain clubs you haven't, but at Chelsea, because you guys have been so spoilt for so long, especially when you had Roman Abramovich, I just feel like it's very easy for your fan base to turn on a manager. I agree, Pochettino hasn't been good enough this season. The proof's in the table, right? You're 11th. But I just think where are we? We're February in his first season. A lot of these signings weren't his signings. This is the new era of Chelsea. And I think to get rid of him after just 1 year straight away, I personally think it's unfair. I think at least give him halfway through next season.
I agree. Mate, I've been there.
Because managers don't get no time. But if we're talking just 11, how long's the season? 9 months.
Yeah.
With this team that's all over the place now, I just think that's a bit hard.
I've been there.
I think it's very hard.
It's not totally his fault at all, and I think it will be. It's one of those ones where the manager goes because there's only one option. You know, you can't sack all the players. The board are going to be where they are.
You've just done that.
Yeah.
You can't.
You're totally right.
You've had such a massive transformation in squad that is not an option anymore. Like, say if a new manager came to Newcastle or whatever, you could look and go, oh God, how many of these Steve Bruce players you need to get? There's so many new players, and the thing that makes it really hard to back Poch, in my opinion, as much as everything Craig there said made sense, it's Wolves and it's other teams on the level of Wolves, where you're looking at the amount of money Chelsea have spent versus the amount of money a lot of these other clubs spent. Yes, they've overspent, but you can't be letting teams that you think of yourself as better than come there and put 4 past you. Liverpool putting 4 past
off
you.
the back of Liverpool putting 4
Liverpool
past
putting 4 past you was gutting and it was embarrassing. But you can take it because they do that to a lot of teams. Wolves at home, you've got to compete. And when you give goals away that easily, it's pathetic.
Can I give it a bit more context as well, right? Put yourself in the mind of a Chelsea fan, right? This wasn't Chelsea's fault. This was the Premier League's fault. But our fixture against Wolves was only about 40 days ago or whatever, right? It got moved to Christmas Eve. I think it was the first time that a game had been played on Christmas Eve since 98 or something like that. Obviously, that means that the Chelsea fans that travelled all the way to Wolves for that match, there wasn't like public transport and stuff like that on. Now, the team would know that. It was made quite vocal. We put on 3 coaches, things like that. I think that realistically, when you go there, you get humiliated by Wolves, really. You get beat by Wolves quite comfortably. You then go to Anfield, you're coming off the back of a loss there. Wolves, the team that all of those Chelsea supporters travelled and ruined their Christmas plans for and whatnot, that's the game that I want to see a response in. And if we win that match, it's irrelevant, but I want to see a response. We didn't see in effort, in battling, in the intensity of the game today, that there was a response from that. And they're the sort of things that they might seem insignificant because you sort of think, well, you played a game, not the occasion. But I'm telling you now, back in the day, and I know we can keep going on to back in the day, there was a Jose Mourinho or someone like that, they're going to be telling them boys that in the dressing room. They're going to be saying, remember Christmas Eve against these guys. And when you look at the way Pochettino conducts himself in interviews and stuff, this is the thing. You never know what goes on behind closed doors. But after we got battered by Newcastle at St James's Park, and it sort of looked like he hung the players out to dry a little bit, we sort of disagreed over that. I said, no, do you know what? I quite like seeing that from him. I like seeing that side from him. At the minute, they're very casual. He's very casual in his interviews, in his words about things after a Liverpool loss. Very, very casual. And then from the first whistle, on a Saturday, on a Sunday, when you see Chelsea play, what's the first thing that comes to mind? Casual. We're casual. Yeah. We're nonchalant, mate. We're walking around a lot of the time. Like, it's like we're not having one of the worst seasons we've had in 20 years. And that you can say about, okay, not over riling players up and keeping people calm. But at the same time, sometimes I want to see some of my players riled up.
Yeah. But can I ask you a question? You did a thing with Joe Cole a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, good friend of mine.
Yeah, your mate. Yeah. You texted him today, yeah? Yeah. I remember he said to you that people have told him that the room in the dressing room, like in terms of the vibe, everything at the training ground is good.
Yeah.
If I was you, I'd be worried by that. Because why the fuck is the mood good when the results are like that? Do you know what I mean? And for me, I look at Chelsea, the way I've always thought of Chelsea, you used to have some dressing rooms that, I mean, Craig, you're talking about how often managers get sacked. That's because of the dressing room. If John Terry don't want you managing, you're out. If Frank Lampard aren't happy, you're out. Drogba,
funny
Essien,
you
John
say
Egan,
that, mate.
But they don't have them players.
But this is what I'm saying. What scares me about your team, and you spent a lot of money on them, and you've got some big players in there. Kaiso, most expensive midfielder that was ever sold in the summer. Enzo's just won the World Cup. And yet they all seem like wallflowers. Where's the voices? Where's the leaders?
Do you know that when we're talking about the Poch thing, like right now with Eddie Howe, for example, he's going through like a rougher patch than what he's had at Newcastle, where I'm looking at performances and I'm not happy with them. But I'm still able to look within the team and go, but you're getting a tune out of him, you're getting a tune out of him, you're getting a tune out of him. All right, these things need to be put right. But I can see levels of improvement in areas, and I can see bits that we need to fix. It doesn't feel like the end of the world. When I look at Poch and that team, I'm looking at who the fuck is he getting a tune out of on a regular basis. basis.
Palmer.
No, but that's
One.
what we're saying is one being the exception. It's not enough.
Conor Gallagher, Con.
It's not.
I don't know. Is he?
he's been
Is he?
Yeah, he is.
He's nowhere near as good as he was
He
at
is.
Palace.
No, don't do
He's
that. 'cause
nowhere near.
They were
Josh,
clinging on not selling him. They were clinging on.
grabbed his hand.
They were clinging on to not selling him. No, I didn't mean that. But you know what I mean? They were clinging on to
Take your
not
hand
selling
up.
him based on his performances this season.
Don't you dare talk about Con like that. How
Exactly.
dare you?
Big
speak about
Con. Don't do that. Because in the summer, they if he went, they would have been like, well, all right, then we just got Kaiso, whatever. He's been performing so well this season that they didn't want to let him go. That's based on his performances this season. I don't know. Listen,
Is
I'm
he saved in your phone as Concom?
No,
I think
I don't
he
even
is,
know him.
man.
I don't even know
You're
him.
going out of him tonight.
He
He's fucking
should have been
loving
at
it.
Spurs. We
I'll
would have been
sound
everything
really
he was there.
negative here, yeah, but give it time. Because last season, Enzo Fernandez came in and I went, I'll tell you what, once we build a midfield around this boy, we looked, we saw what we needed. Apparently we needed Caicedo, went and got him. Enzo's got worse. Last season, Benoit Badiashile came in and I had never heard of him and he came for 30 mil, which for Chelsea's like chump change when they're spending that sort of money around at that time. Benoit Badiashile come in, I thought, oh my God, we've got a player here. This season he's been shit. So when you say about
He's been
Melo
He's been
Gusto,
quite bad.
yeah,
I have to say, like, right, look, Poch will go. I think it's quite inevitable, whether it's now or in the summer. Like, he'll
coming
end
in?
up.
wait,
he'll
hold on.
no,
Do you want him to go though?
I think today. I've just said today is the game that closed it for me.
So
that was it.
just to clarify,
I'm the most positive
I
Chelsea
don't-
fan in the entire
You're 5
world.
points off
the way,
six, by
the way
way,
I
or
feel,
7.
and this pretty much says it all.
Yeah.
Do I want him to go? No. Do I want him to stay? Nah. Not really bothered.
What are you leaning towards?
what do you
more?
want then?
You got to lean
I don't
towards
care.
one. All right, let me ask you something. Would you sack him and take Jose for the cup final?
100%.
For the cup final, would you sack him and?
Listen,
You lot
all the
would, innit?
questions.
You lot
What's all
would,
the
innit?
questions. that-
Why would you do
yeah,
that?
It's cool.
Why?
I would sack him and
Why?
take
Mate,
Jose.
Jose has just got.
I love
something.
Jose, but
He's
it's
got
not
a hold
progressive
on
football.
us. It's like it's like that ex that you just.
Have you
love.
ever seen Misfits do this tag team thing?
Yeah.
If we could tag Jose in just for that one match, and then go, all right, Poch, you come back out, and then he comes
but the
back
thing
in,
is-
starts getting bashed up. We tag Jose straight back in. Now, I would probably take Jose for the.
But
cup
you
final,
talk
yeah.
about the X thing, and I get that. Yeah, like you're amazing fit X, but. She's not as fit anymore,
Maybe
man.
it's your first
She's,
love.
she's
Still
had a,
give 'em.
she's had a BBL,
Craig.
but she's not,
Mate,
she's not
it's
in
your
prime
first love.
position.
It's
Yeah,
that
but
girl that
fell
you
off
like,
a bit,
I've got
man.
that connection with. You lost your
Yeah.
virginity to. You
Yeah,
always love
but the
her.
tits
You
are
always
sagging a bit
And
now.
she's
They're
been
not
through so
like-
many clubs.
She
mate.
has.
She's been with some of your ex-mates.
I don't give a fuck. I've forgiven her.
She's not really the
You know,
special one
difference is,
anymore, though.
is Todd Bowley's never been there before, right?
Yeah.
And maybe he might be willing to give another opportunity. Shout out to the chat, by the way.
Shout out
They've
to the
given
chat.
56% have said Poch should be sacked.
Nice.
It's actually less.
Wait,
than
can I
thought it
just
would
say something about the
We've got
game today as well?
Super chat as well. sorry,
Quickly, yeah. I didn't watch the game. Obviously, you was watching it on the laptop. You was watching the game. And I looked at it, I'm looking at the stats, and the stats don't tell the whole picture, but at least when I look at the stats, I see that you made like double the amount of passes as Wolves. Obviously, we know the most important stat is the scoreline before anyone gets smart and says that. But what I'm saying is...
You're
when
sounding like our recruitment
No,
analyst,
but
mate.
it's like,
You are.
it's like what we were, no, it's like what we were talking about with Man United just now. We looked at the Man United stats, and it's like you're not dominating the game.
Mate,
You're not showing us a style of play. You're not enforcing yourself on the game. With the Chelsea thing, I'm looking at it. All right, you conceded an own goal. You conceded a penalty. Do you know what I mean?
Mate,
you,
they ripped
you had
us
more
apart.
shots on goal.
Right,
You had
ripped
more
us apart.
possession. You passed it more. How did they rip you apart?
I could pull you up 10, 11 games from this season where the stats would reflect exactly what you've just said. Every single one of them.
So
games
isn't there a
was lost.
direction
Mate,
then?
no, Craig,
Isn't there a direction?
no one
then?
What, a
in the game
direction into
today.
losing consistently?
Yeah, but that's this
There is.
season. It's the
That's
first
the only
season.
consistency we're showing this season.
It's the fir-
It's if we lose a game, I know how we lose it more often than
Can we
not.
just talk about how concerned you look about this game? By the way, you
We'll
just
get
been like
onto
this
it.
for
I feel
ages.
sick,
I mean,
man.
with Havertz on top, I tell you, I understand why you're concerned.
This game is. You can't
This
win.
is your season.
You can't win a title in February. You can lose one.
Yeah.
And look, we're not favourites for the title. I think we're just about still in the race. If we lose this today, it's curtains.
I need to slap a bet on Arsenal to win,
Complete
but
Oh, you putting some money down.
Do you know- do you know-
Jorginho
got
and
to score on
Havertz.
Arsenal.
Do you know
to
the
win.
only thing I'll say, and you say Jorginho and Havertz, the two of the best performances we've had against big teams this season was the Community Shield and Liverpool FA Cup when we lost 2-0, but we had next year 1.6 against 6, and we actually played really good football that day. Both games, Havertz up top. Both games with Rice as a left 8 rather than a 6. There's parts of the tactics that I quite like.
What is the rationale, though, in your opinion, behind playing Havertz up top and
Jesus is out injured because he's a sick note. Because this is the reason City was so happy to sell him to us because he manages about 22 games a season and he doesn't score goals. He wears a number 9 on his back, takes 250 grand a week, and every time I have a go at him for not scoring goals, I get fucking Arsenal fans in my mentions go, "Oh, but he does all the other stuff. He plays passes. He serves beers at half time. Fuck off, man."
Do you know the awkward
striker
bit?
scores some goals.
That makes this and look, we're not going to go on about Spurs just yet, but when Richarlison's pulling up trees the way he is, it makes it even look worse. Do you know what I mean? Like for Jesus.
The thing is for JG's, I will say, like, we've got our attack does look a million times better when he plays compared to Eddie, compared to even Trossard. Like Martinelli looks like a better player. Saka looks like a better player with Jesus in there. The problem is that there is a reason City sold him. There is a reason City went, yeah, go on, Arsenal, 45 million quid, nice one, boys.
Erling Haaland as well, though. That's part of it.
But even before Erling Haaland, the season before Haaland, while Jesus was there, was he starting number 9 week in, week out? No, they were doing false 9.
So why not Nketiah, though, ahead of Havertz?
That's what I was going to say.
Because if I'm Nketiah, I'm sat on the bench, I'm thinking, bro, I'm supposed to be your second striker. I can't even get in ahead of fucking... And this is your biggest game of the season, and you're showing me unequivocally you do not...
Because you know what? I give Havertz some stick here. But in every other area, apart from putting the ball in the back of the net, Havertz is better than Nketiah.
He is better, and that's the problem. We play our football.
And that's from someone that gives him stick. But then if you're playing him at number 9, I suppose the most important thing is putting the ball in the back of the net.
Well,
but in every other area, Havertz
physical
is a better
presence,
player.
which I think could help today.
It's physical. Look, if you want to talk tactically about it, what we're going to do today is try and play like a small space game. Like we watched Liverpool in the weekend, Chelsea. They're very different to Arsenal and City. They want a big pitch. They're in no rush to get their centre backs up to the halfway line. When they get the ball, they're not asking around. They just go. What we're going to try and do today is control. That's been the word of Arsenal seasons: control. Try and control things. Try and slow it down a bit. Make sure you don't concede and break teams down.
We're underway, by the way.
I don't want to kick Eddie, but like Eddie will play for us. He doesn't press. He doesn't win balls. He doesn't link up with other players. He has about 9 touches most of the time.
Can finish though.
I just feel like
he's not a great finisher. He's an okay finisher.
I feel like Virgil would have his number though. Like, but I think you need someone with a bit of physicality. Like for me, the person who has these best games against Virgil van Dijk religiously is Isak. And he's just Liverpool in. Oh, you fucker.
Yeah.
You know who Virgil van Dijk said was the best he had ever played against? Do you know this? Giroud.
Well, no, big physical guy, Giroud. It fits the bill, right? So, like, I mean, Isak isn't the biggest, but he's tall, he's lanky, he's awkward, and I feel like Havertz has some of those similar attributes. So maybe that's what they're thinking.
That pass, by the way, is what you're going to see for this entire game today, from left to right from Liverpool. Try and get in the space behind Zinchenko, because if there's one, we spoke about this before. Like when you're younger and you play football, you always do spot the dope. You look at the defence and go, "Who's the mug?"
Dan Burn, if you're wondering.
Yeah.
Is he actually?
That's why I always used to carry a little pocket mirror with me on the football pitch. Job 1 completed.
I found him, boys. I found him.
Yeah.
I like Zinchenko as a player, and he allows us to do stuff on the ball that I like. But if the way Liverpool play football, rock and roll football, quick behind, press and press and press. Yeah. Zinchenko's the one they're going to target, and he needs to have the game of his life today, as does Jorginho.
I'm surprised they're not playing.
Offside.
I'm surprised they're not playing Nunes, because although we were laughing, right, the kid's causing absolute havoc for every team he plays against.
I'm going to be that guy with Nunes. I'm sorry, I need to say this, right? There are not many players that are as wasteful as Darwin Nunes and get nice preferential treatment. Like, usually if you waste as many chances as this ain't to you, Brian, this is to the whole footballing world.
No,
right?
I'm down for it.
Yes, he's busy. Yes, he looks like he's doing things. Yeah, he looks cool as a footballer. Like, he looks like someone that might be a bit popular. Do you know what I mean? He's built like a house. He's got the tattoo on his neck. Yeah, I get all of it. He's edgy. The reality is, there are a lot of footballers that if they were as wasteful as him, with the price tag and with the expectation that he has, we would be gunning them. We would be getting onto them. And for some reason, He's a media darling.
Yeah, do you know
For some reason, people go, "Oh no, Nunes is coming. It's coming."
How many times have you heard about people say he had 11 shots against it? He didn't score any of them. He did that. He had 11 shots
When
against
has it
Chelsea.
ever been a good thing?
One of them was from the penalty
When has
spot.
it
He
ever
didn't
been a
score.
good thing?
My favourite bit was Paul Merson the other day being like, and the way he just doesn't let it get him down. What a guy.
Yeah.
This
And
is
I was
what I mean.
he's
Like,
you're literally saying he's so shit and that he doesn't let it get him down. That's
This
a
is
positive
it.
thing.
His
But-
finishing is poor,
Yeah.
his passing's poor, but his mental health is tip top.
No,
and
but-
you have
Yeah.
to give him that.
Do you know what it is? Though? It's a weird because I kind of understand
Saka.
both sides because Nunes does cause so many problems that your goals may not come directly from his foot leaving towards the goal, but he will have that impact. And I just thought in this game they may use him because of how disastrous it's been for everyone who's come up against him lately. I mean,
Well, he's not fit. He's
you know
not
what,
fit.
Brian?
Oh,
I get what you're saying, right? I do get what you're saying. But you see, when it's all said and done, and we look back on your season or your career, what are your real contributions? Because we can't measure the scuff shot you had that fell to him and then that went in.
He's got 7 goals and 7 assists in the Premier League this season.
This is it.
That's a lot better.
But
That's
Josh,
actually a
but
lot
Josh,
better.
have way more.
But Josh, what are his contributions?
no, but he should have way more. He should have way more.
love it.
He
Oh,
should,
yeah,
he
yeah,
should
he
have
should.
more.
The
But
way-
that's,
the way
that's
people-
more than most players in the Premier League.
Yeah.
Can I
That's probably in the top 5.
He plays for Liverpool.
But can I say-
That's the bare minimum.
He started
Mane
14.
and these players used to get way more than that.
But in that front line for Liverpool, who would you put him in there today ahead of? Gakpo then?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gakpo's the one, because if you look at Luis Diaz, I think he could be the best at, obviously salaries, but when Salah's not there, he could be the best. If you look at Jota, have you seen his goals per 90 minutes that he's
Yeah,
been on? I
it's
think
good.
he's second to Haaland or something like that, which is
Jota is so
ridiculous.
good.
He's the sort of player you don't want to play against.
Yeah.
He's an annoying
He's a
fucker,
diving
and
little twat.
Yeah, but
Mate,
you'd love him if he was your own.
Yeah,
like,
100%. He's one of those players.
yeah.
By the way, you know I said all of that, but I do secretly like Nunes.
No, it's hard not
I
to.
just don't understand why he just gets this treatment.
He gets
Like,
the
it
love.
seems like
Do you know what it is?
they're not really. I don't know. They're not criticizing.
Against Chelsea, in my opinion, even though Nunes didn't do the key thing, which is put the ball in the net, I thought he was the best player on the pitch.
No, do you know
I
what?
thought he was unbelievable.
The thing with Nunes, I know we're taking a piss, but it is actually the mark of a good striker to get shots off, even if you miss them, right? Every single season, if you look at the players who miss the most chances, it's the best forwards. This season, missed most chances, of course, it's Nunes. Second, have a guess?
Who?
Haaland.
Haaland. Yeah.
Haaland, yeah.
Season just gone, missed the most chances. Have a guess? Who missed the most chances last season?
Was it
Son?
Haaland. Again, Nunes joint
Yeah, but he
third
also puts
with
loads away.
Salah. But I know they put the most weight, and look, we've watched him. We know he's not a good finisher, but that is the mark of a good striker, to be able to get in those positions again and again and again. And we watched them against Chelsea on Wednesday night. Mate, the amount of goals where the centre-backs didn't know what to do with themselves because Nunes is running behind them.
Bro, they got given a penalty, right? They gave him the ball to put the ball in the back of the net. He had a fucking penalty.
Look,
and he
Jurgen
couldn't
Klopp
even
looking
hit
away.
the target.
Jurgen Klopp looking away didn't help it at all.
He couldn't even hit the target.
He
That's
took the
basically
pressure
saying,
off.
here's a goal, mate.
Do you
Here's
not
a
think
goal.
though,
That post came out of nowhere.
Mate, I have to say, when you're against Petrovic saying goal, it would,
Oh,
it would
you know
scare
what?
the shit out of you. You know, when you're looking at a
Did
world-class
you not,
goalkeeper
when you
like
was
that.
being asked last year about who can you rely on, last kickoff show, Petrovic.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
did. We
I
did
did
in that,
call him out.
Yeah, because KJ was like, "Yeah, we take him because obviously he's got Onana in goal, bless him."
We know what it is. He plays for Liverpool. Everyone's just giving him that little thing because he plays for Liverpool and they're top of the league. Well, I mean, I can smell it. I know what it is. The media, they don't want.
When he
they don't
does
wanna
have his
criticise him.
moments, though, Darwin Nunes, was it against Bournemouth, that goal, when he cuts inside this season? It was against
he
Bournemouth.
has
He
when
came on against Newcastle at 88 minutes at 1-0 down, and by the time he left the pitch, it was 2-1, and he'd scored both. It was one of the most heartbreaking things.
Do you think
He
he's
has
a system player, though? Do you think, you take him out of Liverpool, you put him into, I don't know, any other sort of top 6 clubs? Do you reckon he has as much impact as he does at Liverpool?
I think he's a
don't
Klopp
he does.
player. I think he's very much a
so,
Klopp
too.
player.
I think so.
Does that mean
I
you're
don't-
not? Does that means you're not a great
I
player?
don't
You know,
know.
if you're a system player.
But
That
I
means
don't
you're
know.
not a
I
great
don't know
player.
if Liverpool
players
is
can
the
do it
club
anyway.
that's best suited to him.
Who
When
would
I-
it be then?
When I look at him playing, I think
Newcastle.
Newcastle.
I don't think he
feels
scores
like they
anywhere
could
near
do
the
with-
goals. I don't think he scores that many goals at Newcastle. I don't think he does because he doesn't get.
But then,
in the
if you're
team
talking
over
about them laying
Isak.
goals on a plate for him type thing, I don't feel like they're the sort of goals that I can remember Darwin Nunes scoring. I feel like the goals he scores are a little bit more spectacular, things he's made for himself. I remember the opening day at the start of last season, Liverpool played Fulham at Craven Cottage. It was a 2-2 draw, and I think Darwin Nunes scored both goals in that match. And it was obviously Haaland played on the first game. I think it was West Ham against Man City, and he got a couple. We did the little sit-down celebration, and Nunes scored in that game. And I remember thinking, it's a shootout between these two this season for the Golden Boot. Like, I was so impressed by Darwin Nunes when I first seen him play.
Amazing.
I thought he looked better than Haaland that first game. It's crazy.
Yeah, you could show me individual games. If I'd never watched any of Darwin Nunes, you could show me individual games and you could go to me, that's the best number 9 in the world. And I go, yeah, it probably is, to be fair. But then you then see, for every one of them games, you then see 9 games where he doesn't perform like that. So...
Arsenal started this game well, by the way. We're pressing really well. We're getting our back line up. I think there was a stat a minute ago. 52% of the game has been in Liverpool's third so far. If we're going to win this, that's how you want to do it. And by the way, we're talking about Darwin Nunes. That actually is the reason that we want to play this way. That's the reason we want to force them back, because they haven't got Nunes running behind. Gakpo's a great player. He won't do that the way Nunes does.
No, Gakpo's a great finisher, but yeah, he doesn't give you that chaotic feel.
He's not going to go over the top.
Yeah, and he's a lot less controllable than Gakpo. I think the quality of Darwin Nunes, I think Liverpool won't realise how much they need him until Mo Salah leaves, which is most likely, in my opinion, in the summer. That's when they'll need that chaos to maintain the Klopp style, even after Klopp is there, as he's left rather. So I think he's really going to be a help to maintaining the Liverpool style after Mo Salah's gone. But yeah, Arsenal have started well. They've controlled it the first 10 minutes. Liverpool they're not playing anything like what they normally play so far.
Joe Gomez at left back, he's been playing quite well there.
Really?
When you look at like the Euros coming up, we're looking at the fact that Chilwell's always injured. Luke Shaw, we got no guarantee that he's going to be there. Southgate seems to like Trippier over on that side, and you'd imagine that he'd be the first choice left back. Gomez has got to be in with a shout, surely.
I think Trippier's got an advantage because, I don't know if you know, Trippier's second in the league for assists this season, which is fucking... And again, by the way, like he did it last season. And I don't mind him on the left side, but...
Does he get as many assists on the left, though? That's
to be honest, a lot of his assists are from set pieces, so that's possibly... I know we've got quite a lot of good set piece takers in England, so we'd probably be spoiled for choice with...
Maddison.
But he doesn't fancy Trent... Southgate, does he? So
it's the hard thing about having this England conversation is that, like, for all the hypotheticals, for all the things that have happened this season. I mean, we're watching Liverpool play today. I think Curtis Jones should be in that England midfield in the summer. We all know what's going to happen.
It'll be a former Liverpool midfielder.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Have you heard this?
Of course.
I was going to bring it up. Basically, we all seeing that Jordan Henderson now playing for Ajax. Gareth Southgate travelled to watch. Nothing. Gareth Southgate travelled to watch Jordan Henderson play for Ajax, and there's been quite a bit made of it because of so many. You've got Maino, for example, turning on for Manchester United, and actually in this time, I seen this tweet, so I thought I'd read it. I haven't verified this.
Martinelli.
Oh, wow! How has he
Martinelli
missed that?
killed Konate.
That is how we need to play. That is it. Just go quick. Just fucking break. This has been the problem this season. We're too slow.
Yeah.
That's what I want to see so much more of. That. By the way, think of Gabby Martinelli in your head. When's he good? On the break.
Yeah,
we don't utilise that anywhere near enough. The most iconic Martinelli goal against you boys, literally ran the length of the pitch. He did it against Villa last season as well.
You don't get those transitional moments though often when you're
the
like
keeper
a
did
team
great.
That is what Raya is really good at, and he did exactly that in the Palace game as well. That was Trossard's goal against Palace. He did exactly that. And by the way, David Raya, awful start to the
got
season.
scored that, by the way. Are we not seeing this?
I honestly do think that should have been a goal. Like Saka gets his head to it.
Let's have a look at it. Yeah, he's got a score there. That is pathetic from Saka.
Nketiah gets in.
I think
got his head to
he's 6 yards out. He's got to bury that.
He got his head to it. Gomez wasn't even like...
I think Gomez does well. I think you watch that back, Gomez does
just watched it.
I hope for your sake, you're right. Because that looked like a...
To me, he just put a header wide.
Going back to the Southgate situation, he goes to travel, watch Ajax, just for Jordan Henderson.
Just for Jordan Henderson.
Bearing in mind, 18 English players featured in Newcastle versus Luton, including Ross Barkley, who has been having a bit of a resurgence. 12 in the Everton-Tottenham game, 10 in the Brighton-Palace game, 5 in the Burnley-Fulham game, 12 in the Sheffield United versus Aston Villa game, and yet Gareth Southgate travelled all that way to watch Ajax.
Could you to play devil's advocate, could you say, is he looking at him to see... has he still got it?
The fact
if he hasn't, then I'm going to drop him.
For me, you should already know, mate. The guy's been playing in Saudi Arabia,
This has got to be offside. That was a close call.
The guy's been playing in Saudi Arabia. You know, the age of him. We look. I know he's a good character and he's a leader and whatnot. But like, there's players developing left, right, and centre in the Premier League right now. You know, you can look at the youth of Maino, arguably Lewis Miley, who played an unbelievable pass for Newcastle.
Curtis Jones,
Jones. I mean,
James
even
Ward-Prowse, Barkley.
Jones has been having some great
Morgan
games for Liverpool. Yeah.
Well,
We've just sat and reeled off 10 names that are more deserved instead of having Jordan Henderson in there.
Right, now rank them.
If you actually think about it though, like, where's Henderson gone? He's gone to Ajax. They're actually 5th in the table. And he played as a number 6 yesterday. He played at the base of midfield. Now, why is that? Let's be honest, probably because his legs are gone. So he can't get up and down the way he used to for England and Liverpool. Do we need a 6 for England? No, because I'm watching one who's on the ball right now who, if you're talking about the England team, there are 2 names that go straight on the team sheet, and it's Declan Rice and Jude Bellingham.
Easy.
We need a third midfielder.
And
Harry Kane. But we need a third midfielder. Thanks, mate. We need Don't let me forget.
Still hasn't got.
I know that Arsenal Academy product who's done so well in Europe this season. I think it's crazy. But this is the sad thing.
Arsenal are in.
Arsenal
They've
got
got
goal.
to make
It's a goal.
Oh, come on.
Come on!
Kai with the assist.
Kai Havertz assist. 60 million down the drain. Kai Havertz does it again.
Oh, come on. That was an absolute failure of a shot. That was awful. He fucking missed the sitter. He missed the one-on-one.
It's in the back of the net.
It's a goal. It's a goal.
in the
to
back
goal.
of the net,
But he
bro.
missed the one-on-one.
I don't give a shit. Look, what did I say at the start of this game? Can he finish? Kai Havertz? No, but we play our football. And are you telling me this isn't Arsenal football?
I think Arteta said that.
65 million quid.
Erdegaard's ball through. Look.
Oh,
No, he's on.
Was he? Was he?
He's on. He was
We're
on.
looking at the offside. Oh.
He was on.
Josh, go away.
I love it.
I'm going to get the Ghost of Reece James song out again
Do
if
it,
you wind
bring
me
it,
up,
bring
mate.
it back.
No.
Bring it back.
We
Can I
keep
just quickly-
rewatching how bad the Havertz shot was.
It goes against
Criminal.
everything that you'd imagine Kai Havertz to do there. You always
Bottom
think
corner?
he's putting that in
Well,
the
you
bottom
think
corner.
he's trying to dink it at the very least. That's sort of his special move. But can I just say, that is exactly what I want Arsenal doing. Quick transitional football. We went straight through. We went straight into Erdegaard, straight through, and that's how you get goals with this Arsenal team. And by the way, do I think Havertz is going to score a hat-trick today? No. Do I think he's going to finish the season with a load of goals? No.
We're not asking you those questions.
Thank you very much. I'll be honest with you, Brian, I'm talking to my internal monologue here because there's a voice in my head saying, stop defending Kai Havertz.
Liverpool are in trouble.
They are.
Oh, and it's a free kick. Surely? No. Fuck it.
Wow.
Can I just say something? If this ends a draw, Man City win the league. Man City actually win the league if these two
you'd
draw.
love that, wouldn't you?
They
You
will
would
though.
love that.
Do you know the
They
really
will.
painful thing about watching Arsenal games with Craig? It's not just that he's a Spurs fan, he's a closet City fan as well. So
Pep fan. I'm a Pep fan, not City fan.
You know,
I'm a Pep fan.
we're really. It's a real toss-up between who's going to be the more annoying of the two managers today. It's a real. That's the real. Who's the real winner today?
Well, have these two?
Yeah, Arteta and Klopp will be on that fucking touchline non-stop, won't they?
Yeah, they will.
So yeah, going back to the old England situation.
If I was Southgate, I'd be going to Amsterdam every weekend to watch
bet you would.
Henderson. I'd
those
be thinking,
mushrooms.
I don't know how the FA have given me the old red light for that. I mean, green light for that.
fair play to Henderson though. He's left a country where you're not allowed to drink and gone to Amsterdam where you can buy gear in supermarkets.
Yeah,
You've got to say,
it's
mate.
one extreme to the other. isn't it?
Literally, he's making up for lost time.
He's really found himself.
Women aren't allowed to drive in Saudi Arabia. He's gone somewhere where they can do all sorts.
Yeah.
Sure, fuck me.
Be specific. No, joking.
Oh, mate, this is honestly,
Sometimes you think they're women. So they're not.
This is a dream start for Arsenal. It's one thing that we spoke about a lot this season is that we're a bit slow. And game state helps. Liverpool are going to come at us anyway, but I think scoring early against Liverpool, because there was a stat that came up when Liverpool played Chelsea the other day. When Liverpool get a first goal, they do not lose games.
Yeah.
It is as simple as that.
100%.
That we had to start fast here. We had to start with this.
I'm just surprised at how controlled it's been. Like, Liverpool have really not been able to get anything going here. And they were relentless against Chelsea. I was having sort of PTSD from how they dominated Newcastle. It was a nightmare. But yeah, I mean, obviously it's not at Anfield, which is a disadvantage for them.
The one thing we won't be able to do today is do this for 90 minutes. Like, so far it looks good. Players like Jorginho and Zinchenko cannot do 90 minutes playing football like this, and we don't have Tomiyasu on the bench, and we don't have players who can come in and help us.
And that's where I worry
Is
about
this
you,
counter
because
football?
Liverpool can do this. Liverpool can go 100 miles an hour for 90 minutes. They're just
bloody
that
inhalers.
fit. Those
Would you say this is
inhalers are
counter
so
football
good
that you're playing right now?
Counter football?
Yeah, counter attacking football.
I don't know if it's necessarily counter-attacking football. I think when we get the ball, we play quickly, but I don't think we're playing defensive. We're getting out and we're pressing. Like, I wouldn't say that we're trying to sit back in our box and defend a box. I think ultimately, when we're talking about games between the teams that are at the top of the league, this is what it kind of looks like.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? When you see City playing Liverpool, this is it. It's back and forward. Teams press. Teams like. It's a territory thing, and ultimately we're doing all right with that.
I'll tell you what, though, when we're talking about these two being the closest challengers to Man City, when you look at both the benches, it's pretty dry, isn't it? Like, no one's really got anyone. Obviously, you got Ramsdale, he's out of favour, but apart from that, you're looking at Smith Rowe, Nketiah and Trossard coming off the bench. They're all decent. I'm not denying they're decent, but City will have more names on their bench.
It doesn't look like a title-winning substitute bench, does it?
Even with Liverpool's bench, Liverpool have got their injuries, they've got players away, but you've got Nunes coming off the bench, Harvey Elliott, you've got Robertson on there. Neither have got that sort of depth at the moment.
We're talking about a Premier League where, I read a stat the other day that I think in 4 of Klopp's seasons, he's got more than 90 points. I don't think this is one of those seasons.
But is it a season when anyone gets more than 90
That's
points?
what I'm saying. I'm not talking about Liverpool.
This could be an 84 point...
No, that's what I'm saying.
Man City should, though. By the squad that they have, Man City should. It's only because Man City aren't 100%, in my opinion, that we're in with a chance.
Man City aren't 100%, and every time Rodri doesn't play, they drop points. And that's something we've realised this season. They're all right with that.
Someone should just kick the shit out of him, if you know what I mean? But back in the day, if we're in the 90s, we all know Alex Ferguson would have said to someone, put a fucking reducer on him.
Well, do that or wind him up till he kicks you and gets sent off. And that's 3 games he misses. I think this is going to be, as you said, Joe, like an 85-point title win for whoever does win it. Even this Liverpool team, I've got to be honest, I've been wrong about this Liverpool team. I was talking about their midfield start this season. I was taking the mick out of Nunes as well. This is a really good Liverpool team. It's nowhere near as good as the teams they've had before.
No.
This is nowhere near as
Remember,
good.
Salah's still coming back, though. And Salah's, without a doubt, their best player. Head and shoulders.
I don't think this Arsenal team is as good as the Arsenal team last season was when it was at its best.
Agreed.
It's not. We've completely changed. I think Arteta's been spooked by what went wrong last season. I think,
he's a bit more negative, in my opinion, this season.
It's not quite negative. It's just that control thing. I think last season we were a fun team to watch.
That's what I'm saying,
Yeah. And now, I think basically what happened at the end of last season, West Ham, we gave away a stupid goal. Southampton, we gave away a stupid goal. And I think he said to himself, you know what, bollocks to this. I'm getting a keeper that kicks long, and we're playing in the other team's side of the pitch.
I'll be honest as well. See, for you guys, I don't think there's much...
You like us, don't you?
What? As
Arsenal.
What? The club or the football?
The team.
I like how you play football.
Guys,
I like how you play football. You're fishing for compliments, but it's fine. What I was going to say, though, is you ain't got no excuses this season, in my opinion, because a lot of things have gone your way. And by that, what I mean is you haven't had any real bad injuries. You haven't lost any players really to suspensions.
Liverpool playing dangerously.
Oh,
There you go.
Surely. Oh, he's got to get that the keeper, man. He's got to work the keeper there.
We've had a super chat here, £10 super chat. Thank you very much for that, Forchi. Pep has spent 1 billion at City. Klopp has spent 800. Yes, 800 million.
That's just factually not correct.
Pep has spent 4 times what Klopp has. That is not right.
Ben,
who said
there
that?
you go. It's one of the super chats.
But we're not talking about. We're obviously talking about net spend, aren't we? Whenever we talk about spending, we're always talking about net spend. And that's just not the case. There's no way that it's that close between those two.
No.
The only
Refund him.
We'll keep the money, though. By the way, you can send all the incorrect things you want. I'll take the money. Not a problem. Do you know what I mean?
I will say with Arsenal, we have had a few injuries this season. Thomas Partey's basically missed.
We
the whole
can't talk about
season.
injuries at this table, I'm afraid.
No, mate. I'm only saying.
Me and Josh have been
all the
arguing about
teams,
it.
you've had the rubber degree more than any of the teams.
Everyone
What I'm
knows that
saying.
Chelsea have had the most injuries.
Oh, mate, if Chelsea didn't have all these injuries, we'd be at 8.
We're talking about we're talking about the teams fighting. for the title.
Premier League fans, everyone's had injuries.
No,
and
everyone
it's
has.
not a coincidence.
Some more than
It's
others.
not a coincidence.
No, we're talking about key
Not in the grand
players,
scheme of
man,
things,
big
everyone.
players.
Thomas
injuries.
Partey's our best midfielder.
In the grand scheme of things, everyone hasn't had injuries.
Timber's been out the whole season, and I think he would have been vital to this team. He'd have played every game he was fit for, Timber.
Thomas Partey or Timber are not Kevin De Bruyne and Haaland, are they?
They're not as good, but they're important.
No, but even to your team, they're not the equivalent in your team. There are more important players in your team than those players, in my opinion.
They're not in
Should we do
Kunku
the
and
top-
Reece
like
James.
Saliba
Do you want to know
or
the league table?
Saka.
For who's had it?
They're not in Kunku and Reece James. They're not.
The injury champions of the Premier League.
Well, are we going to get
Newcastle
Champions
by
League
far.
football in this table? Because that's the only one we're going to win.
Luton Town.
Most injuries.
Yep. Then it's in terms of days missed: Forest, Palace, Spurs. Interestingly, Manchester United, Then Chelsea, I think, are 5th. Sheffield United 4th.
Europa League.
Brighton 3rd. Brentford 2nd. Newcastle 1st. So, like, just to give you the difference in context, like, Manchester United have missed 710 days in terms of playing time in their 6th. Chelsea 730. Newcastle 892 days missed.
And people said Eddie Howe wouldn't win a trophy this season, but there
you go. We've got injury first place. I'll take that.
I mean, look, roughly about 100 of those is Sandro Tonali. He's obviously been out for a long time.
Count.
Does he not count towards that? Does he count towards that?
No, it doesn't. It's only injury. So if you added that, then we're really cooking. Then we're really. We're fucking World Club.
Europe with that record.
We're the European champions. Then we fucking must be. Honestly.
But basically, my point was to say that last season your fan base kind of blamed not winning the league on Saliba's injury, right?
Yeah.
A lot of them were going, if we had Saliba, we would have won the league. This, that, and the third. This season, so far, Saliba's stayed injury free.
Yep.
You like you said, you're not in the top 10 in the table. You've had, I'd say in terms of injuries, it's been not too bad. Timber and Partey, fair enough, but in general, not that bad to the key players. So what I'm saying is, Arteta doesn't really have an excuse this season to go and win this league. Then, obviously, that's easier said than done.
If Liverpool go and win it, they would have done it without Salah for chunks. They'd have done it with a lot of players.
But that's my point when it comes to Arsenal, because Arsenal fans were saying, well, last year we would have won it. They've gone and spent £100 million on Declan Rice. They've strengthened their midfield.
Timber, they spent 100.
Exactly, and they've had the majority of their key players this season. That's basically my point. My point is, Arteta hasn't really got anywhere to look now and go, oh, it's this, that, or the third. You just have to either go out and win it or you don't.
At the top level, the margins are small, though. Like, if you look at it, can Man City, is it beyond the realms of possibility that De Bruyne could be out for the rest of the season and Man City still go and win the league? It's not beyond the realms of possibility.
If he doesn't
do it.
If Arteta doesn't win it this season, when will he win it then?
Yeah.
When will he win it?
No, but what I'm saying is, if we're saying, okay, because they've got certain players out, there's no chance they can go and win the league, then they're not in the same class as Man City and Liverpool. Yeah. Because if Man City have De Bruyne out for the whole season, there's still a chance they go and win the league. If Liverpool don't get Salah back now, of course they're going to be up against it. There's still a chance they go and win the league,
Yeah.
And what I'm saying is, if you go about Arsenal, right, we've got Partey out, and we got Timber, who's never actually played a Premier League game for us yet, I don't think. Maybe one game.
45 minutes, thanks.
So there you go. But if you've got those two out and you go, well, because of them two, we can't win the league. Okay, well, you weren't serious enough in that conversation for it then. You've got to be...
But, okay.
I'm saying it's this season or it probably isn't going to happen. That's what I'm saying. Because
I don't agree with that. Why wouldn't we get better next season when we've got two 22-year-old wingers who've been off form this season and haven't found their best? Why would they not get better?
I don't know, man.
Third
I
time
just
lucky.
think you've had the rubber to green in terms of injuries and suspensions and stuff as well. Like you're going to have a season potentially where your players have just been there most of the season. All of the majority of your key players.
Gabriel Jesus has played less than half the minutes he could have played, and he's our number 9. Now, do I think he should be our number 9?
Guy that doesn't score goals.
No, I'm not saying I think he should be our number 9, but he is our number 9. Okay. Whether he's good enough or not, that's our best striker missing half our games. I'm not saying that there are excuses. I'm not making excuses. I think there are things we've done this season that you could argue have made us worse than last season.
Like bottling the Mudryk signing.
Yeah. No, I think...
All went downhill for them lot when they done that.
How have we not got Mudryk on the table? We've got to talk about Mudryk a little bit, surely. What's the crap with Mudryk?
I mean,
Josh?
he didn't even play today, so we can't really say.
Wait, did he got an assist? He got an assist.
He didn't even
He's
start.
blameless.
Yeah, exactly. Didn't even start. He
did play.
The other day, you named your ideal starting front three for Chelsea. And you said the best front three for Chelsea was Nicholas Jackson with Nkunku one side, and was it Mudryk you said the other side? Palmer the other side. Sorry, Mudryk didn't make it into it. So being that you have beat the drum for Mudryk and beat a few things for Mudryk this season.
Not that kind of football show, just to be clear. Just to be absolutely clear.
Love that. Finish the question. Sorry, I got this. I got really.
I've just got an image in my head now.
And I can't get it out.
You wonder why Josh always smiling next to
You
us.
can come and help if you want. Yeah.
No, but seriously, fraud watch. We were talking about fraud watch, right? Because there's a few sort of names and admissions and players that are coming out of fraud watch. I think Richarlison's very comfortably out of fraud watch at the minute. Mudryk is shifting no closer to getting out of fraud watch, is he?
It's really funny, isn't it? Because I think if you analyse players and you look at the types of teams that were in for them, I was thinking about this earlier on. Arsenal made a huge play for Mudryk, didn't they? And I have to say, if you think about teams that have good talent ID overall, that Arsenal have had more transfer successes in the last 3 or 4 years than I would say most clubs in the Premier League. right? And so if Arsenal were absolutely a hair's width away from signing Mykhailo Mudryk, does that not tell you that there's something there beyond just what the data and analytics
Can I give you
would
the
say?
caveat? And I know you're being kind about my team and our recruitment, and thank you.
Yeah.
I'll help you beat
This
it.
is the last time I will ever do that.
Yeah.
The only thing I say, we have great recruitment when it comes to midfielders and defenders. I think you could argue we're not that great when it comes to forwards. The forwards that Arteta's brought in under his reign, Trossard, Jesus and Willian. Now, Jesus has played less than half the games. When he has played, doesn't score enough goals. Willian, an absolute car crash. Trossard, 6 out of 10. So, yeah, I if you're saying the guys that brought us Willian...
One
if they
topic
want
of conversation ago is using Jesus to strengthen his argument. Now he goes, we brought in Jesus.
I know, classic, absolute classic.
No,
So-
Can I
so
talk to
there
you
was
about the
something
stats,
there.
lads, just quickly? Because I'm just looking at so far this season, 9 starts, 10 substitute appearances. He's scored 3 and assisted 2.
Yeah.
Which it doesn't sound horrendous.
I'm really glad we were talking about Nunes earlier on, because I actually think that Mudryk is kind of our Nunes in a weird way. And what I mean by that is he's chaotic. He does things that you can't predict, and there's that sort of spark where he does something out of nothing.
No.
Why?
No.
Because let me tell you why. Just something as simple as body language. See Nunes, even though he's not sticking chance away, everything he does, it feels like he's doing it with foolish confidence.
Yeah.
He's just going forward.
He might not be the man, but up here he's the man.
Mudryk doesn't look like that. Mudryk looks like a man that has lost confidence. Everything he does, he doesn't feel like he's doing it with his chest. It feels like, do you know what I mean? The way he's latching onto balls or taking shots.
Like
I don't know. It's just his confidence, isn't it?
Honestly, if he's at Arsenal, this is the thing that really, really annoys me about the Mudryk thing is we make players worse at Chelsea Football Club. That's what we do every single time. We get players in.
Not
and we
Cole
make them
Palmer.
worse.
Cole Palmer's come from City and he's loving life.
Fantastic
Give it
example.
time.
That's
Give
the
it
only
time.
one. So we've made
Let
it
us
worse.
get our
Whereas
claws in.
if Mudryk had gone to Arsenal, I feel that he gets Arteta, who's an elite man manager, and he makes him better. He gives him the confidence that allows him to be free in games, and he keeps his head up high. And it's really funny today. I saw Mudryk warming up at half time. He's warming up by himself. He doesn't have a coach near him. He's sort of doing step overs. He's not even got anyone to pass to.
Are you
I
trying
actually
to make us feel sorry for him?
No, I feel sorry for
Because
him.
it's working.
Josh is in the crowd with a violin. Don't leave him on his own.
He's doing step overs by himself. But no,
On 300 grand a week.
the thing I am interested in is
In
though,
your dreams.
in your recent video with Joey said I'd give him a loan. Now, how much was spent on him? About 80 million, 70 million? I can't remember.
65 with add-ons.
All right, so
let's clarify.
and there was
that.
quite a few add-ons, but regardless, 65 million to get to a point where you're like loan out a 65 million pound signing when your season's already going shit. Like that's the season where
I mean, loan him out, Brian. Bayern Munich wanted to loan.
No,
him.
but
so it's not like there's
I'm not-
average clubs wanting
before
it.
you jump down my throat.
I am. I back him up.
I'm actually going to ask Joey, like, why do you think a loan, when given that, you know, it's not going great, why would you go for the loan move?
Not because I've got any confidence that the loan move is going to transform him into an unreal player, or at least the sort of player we parted with the money for. But when I look at Mudryk at the moment, I'm thinking, okay, he's had appearances off the bench. He has had a run in the first team. You know, his numbers weren't awful. He wasn't transformative by any means. Maybe removing him from the chaos and letting him develop as a player is what we need right now, because we bought potential. We definitely didn't buy anything near the finished product. But with Cole Palmer, now let's just use the two as a comparison, right? Cole Palmer gives away the ball a lot, you know. Like Cole Palmer, I think Cole Palmer's brilliant. But because of the style of player he does give away the ball. But he's so far on technically in how he reads the game compared to Mudryk that the need for his progression as a player isn't as vital as Mudryk. What? So I think that at the moment, in the chamber cooker here, within the chaos, Mudryk's struggling big time to develop. I don't think he's developed at all in 1 ounce since he's been at Chelsea.
Per game, if you look at the per game stats, because obviously Mudryk hasn't had the game time. Like he's barely played. He hasn't played anywhere near in comparison to some of our other players. Per game, his expected goals, expected assists, and key passes, like, you know, tangible metrics are on par with Raheem Sterling, who is meant to be one of the finished articles for Chelsea Football Club.
But they're all playing shit. So let me tell you, right? Let me tell you, right? Do you remember Sal? The guy we bought him on loan, Sal Niguez, right? We bought him on loan. We didn't pay no money for him. So he never played a game, but no one was sat there going, well, Sal hasn't had the run of games. Yes, because we all know why he hasn't had the run of games. He's shit. That's why he hasn't had the run of games. So at the minute, because of the price tag we bought Mudryk in for, we're still going, he hasn't had the run of games. He hasn't done anything in my opinion, to put him ahead of a Madueke, of a Cole Palmer, of an Nkunku, or of a Sterling. So I think that if he was to go out on loan, and even like you said, Bayern Munich being in for him, if he was to go to a Dortmund on loan, somewhere like that, right, a top club on loan, and prove his worth a little bit, then I think we can cut the losses and not have as much of a blow in terms of maybe we can get 45, 50 million for him, or potentially we couldn't fix the problem, but we've moved it on, we've brought him back, and then he could come back and do a job for us.
This tells you everything you need to know about Chelsea Football Club. We are so dysfunctional that we make players worse. You see Ian Maatsen go out to Dortmund. Borussia Dortmund, by the way, and in his first game, he rips it up. He looks like he's the best player at Dortmund. So to say that, there are players here that are underperforming at Chelsea, what a fucking surprise. We're not putting
But when we're talking about business,
around.
can I just say, when we're talking about business here, right, if you look at Ian Maatsen at Dortmund, at the end of the season, it's guaranteed now, if he holds up this form, we're getting 35 million for Maatsen.
but we
One
should
day
be
he might be
keeping
worth
him.
70.
We
Maybe we should be keeping him, but we're getting more money. When you go back to the Abramovich era, Hernan Crespo was brought in, right? He scored a few good goals, but he didn't light up in the first season. He goes back on loan to AC Milan, plays in a Champions League final. We then get a similar amount of money. So it has been done before. It's not a massive indictment on this current ownership if we send him on loan, get his price up, and then move him on. Sometimes cutting your losses is the best thing you can do.
Poch's had a say saying now he's on the bench, and it's about form. If you keep your form and you are the best during every training session, it's a meritocracy. He has amazing quality potential, but it's a team game. It's not tennis.
But it's brilliant that he mentions that about meritocracy, because today Raheem Sterling did absolutely nothing. In fact, he was worse than nothing. He actually slowed the game down in every single facet of the game, and he looked awful.
So that doesn't then add up then, yeah.
I'm really glad that Pochettino has used meritocracy and used that term, because I'm going to be holding him to account.
Facts.
I'm going to be holding him to account.
You stand on business, Josh. I love it.
You know what the bad thing is, though? Where it sort of tells you where we're at. When we're trying to critique one player, see where we could get better, and our only valid thing to go, well, he's shit too. Sterling was shit. It's like...
In terms of the game so far, Jacob, are you still happy? You still feel like you're in control here? It seems to be it's quite a scrappy game.
Liverpool are pressing us really well now. There's been a couple of instances where Ben White's turned really nicely and got away from someone. Then there was this fucking ridiculous thing where they've carded him for wasting time. He clearly wasn't wasting time. He had no one to pass the ball to. He took 2 steps back to play it long, and they carded him. Zinchenko, there's been a couple of moments just there where he tried to tackle Gakpo, actually lost the ball and gave it back to him. My worry is, this whole game is going to be like this. It's going to be helter-skelter, back and forth, fast press. And there are players in there. You're looking at one now in Jorginho, another in Zinchenko, who can play passes like that, but they're not going to be able to run like this for 90 minutes. And like Joey said earlier, there's some nice players on our bench. There's Trossard, there's Smith Rowe, that can score goals. They can't walk into a battle like this and partake in the way that we need them to. I remember the City game, which we won at home. On the bench, we brought on 3 players. We brought on Martinelli at half-time, and then Havertz, Partey. I can't remember the third, but we brought on physical players. Havertz, Partey, Tomiyasu came on, a triple sub, powered up, big, fast, physical players. We don't have that. And what I'm worried about is that this game is being played at an insane tempo, and if we drop off, that's when Liverpool get a goal.
Well, this is one of the reasons why Liverpool have the most wins. Points rather from losing positions this season, because they do keep going to the bitter end, as they did with Newcastle at St James's. So
Arsenal, different proposition though, man.
No, absolutely.
Especially at the Emirates.
Yeah, I agree. I think if anyone can actually keep a handle on them, it is Arsenal. Arsenal are threatening though when they're going forward. It's just they're lacking that final.
It's the composure in the box. That's the problem. I know what you were saying about Saka missing a chance earlier. He's 22 years old. I don't want to be harsh on Havertz, but that there was so stupid. Yeah. It was just so, it was played in nicely by Martinelli. You're the 6'4" forward, hold it up, get other players involved. Instead, he just lofts it into Alisson's hands and they break again. And it's like, I can forgive Saka missing chances because he's 22. I can forgive Martinelli misplacing passes because he's 22. When you're £65 million signing, he walks in with a Champions League medal around his neck, makes mistakes like that, I can't help but get so frustrated.
Havertz is only about 14 months older than Saka, to be fair.
Well, how old is Havertz?
He's younger than he looks.
Havertz turned 24 a couple of months ago.
He's young. I didn't know he was that young.
And Saka probably broke onto the scene a little bit earlier than Havertz as well, didn't he?
Well,
They didn't.
there's a
Similar
stat.
time.
There's a crazy stat. Saka has now played more games for Arsenal than Ashley Cole did in his career.
Wow.
We are
Already?
we are playing Saka.
Are you worried about that, though?
Yeah, massively. You're just
In the
talking
long
about
term.
you're talking about Raheem Sterling there. That is a young winger who played way too much
Michael
football,
Owen the same,
too
right?
young an age. I'm looking at Saka getting kicked every single week, running his socks off, and this is one thing we have to do in the transfer market. We have to buy a forward. If it means a forward that allows Jesus to play on the right hand side or a right winger, I want to see Saka in flip flops a few times next season.
He's been rotated.
Yeah, has to be, because we're going to burn him.
You think so?
Yeah. Mate, look,
Is that a real thing?
Can we think of someone that's come in that young and has kept the consistency to play at the top level for that?
You could maybe say Rooney, but very different kind of player. You could maybe say
You
Rooney.
couldn't really say Rooney. Rooney was done by 32.
I think he was 34.
Yeah, but that's
he
calm.
started
Wait,
playing.
34
Not bad.
where?
If you
34
start
where?
16,
No,
17,
it's not
that's
bad.
good.
It's not bad, but what I'm saying, 34 where?
Well, that's when he stopped playing.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think Rooney was done really at 32. He's playing at Derby
That's kind of my point. That's kind of my point.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
he needs
yeah,
a rest. Like,
there's-
I'll
yeah.
tell you one, going off subject a little bit here, Milner. Milner was playing at 16 for Leeds. I mean, he weren't a Saka type player, was he? But
But the
still.
point is, I mean, I don't know, I can't remember the level of consistent starts he had, but because Saka's been so good from day one,
Ooh, yeah, Saka's influential.
he's never out the team, and that's like not a good thing.
No, it's not.
Like you
I mean,
need to have a break.
We're massively over reliant on him, and it's a real fail. And it's like we're talking about Mudryk earlier, and I kind of agree with you, Josh. I would like to see what Mudryk would do under a man manager like Arteta. I mean, another one that he really liked. He was actually linked with Brighton for a long time. De Zerbi. What would he have done? We've seen the success he's had with players like Mitoma. Someone like that is what Arsenal needs. Someone with legs, someone with pace. Because you'll see in the way we're playing right now, it is all about pace in wide positions for Arsenal.
De Zerbi did have Mudryk.
Exactly, but like there was links that he was going to go back and play with him at Brighton when we.
But
were
if
linked with him
Pochettino
initially.
was sat at this table right now, he could. I mean, aside from Cole Palmer, you can hardly turn around and go, well, look at all the good I'm doing with all these other youngsters. Like, no, you're not, mate. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're not getting a tune out of any of them. So, aside from the undeniable kid Palmer, who looks like fucking Mesut Ozil reincarnated.
I don't mean to like discredit Pochettino, and obviously, look, like I said, I'm not Pochettino out or anything like that. But even when we speak about Palmer, I'm like, I don't know, man. I feel like he's just special, and he just can't do that anywhere.
Yes.
I feel if Palmer had gone to Man United, he'd be doing a similar sort of thing. I feel like if he had gone to Newcastle, he'd be doing a similar sort of
Guaranteed.
thing. Like, I feel like Palmer would have sort of done that wherever he went. I feel like Palmer had that mentality of going, it's my time now. And I'll tell you what, if you go against Pep, I'm not saying he had a falling out with Pep, but Pep, it's been quoted that Pep said to Palmer, I will make you into one of the best in the world in your position, but you got to have trust in me. And Palmer basically responded, I'm paraphrasing, by saying, yeah, but I need it now. I'm ready now. And that's where their sort of vision.
How dare
I
he?
really
He
rate-
is
I
ready.
really
How
rate-
dare he?
Were there not quotes from
joking.
Palmer? Palmer said himself that it actually wasn't his choice to leave, but he wanted a loan. Was that not what Palmer said in an interview with Sky? He said, I wanted to go on loan, and City said to him, no, there's no loan. You either
heard
go
about
or
that.
you
Yeah.
Well, that would have been
Yeah.
FFP related. City would have thought, all right, we need to cash in.
But Palmer said that himself. I don't think he was trying to dish
Yeah.
Chelsea, but he kind of said, I didn't actually
but that's
want to
not
go.
like a new point, is it? Like any young player, like we've had it at Chelsea where we've let academy players go. They just say, yeah, I don't want another loan. Like you're going to hold on to me. You're going to start with my career. I want a proper move where I can be there.
Mate,
Where
that
someone
Lewis
wants me.
Hall loan is not gone well. Let me tell you.
Exactly.
He'll be coming back as quick as possible. No, I don't know if he's coming back or not. It's so shrouded in secrecy.
Have they hit the requirements that make the Lewis Hall move to Newcastle
No.
an obligation?
No.
They haven't hit it.
No.
Because when we were talking about this apparent raising of 100 million, I said straight away, well, the 100 million's there. Because you go, if we're going to sell Gallagher, we get 50 million for him. Straight away, you go Gallagher 50 million. You go Amanda Broha 30 million. Datro Fofana, I'll tell you what, if David Datro Fofana, if he has a really good half a season at Burnley, bearing in mind he's got two on the board already, goals from in his first match.
Yeah.
If Datro Fofana has a good season, he could either come back to Chelsea and be a bit of a stopgap, or he gets moved
Do you
on
think
for 25,
Broja
30
goes
million.
for 30?
I reckon.
No, you've asked me the wrong question.
I reckon Conor Gallagher's value is going to go down now. You lot should have cashed in while he had that amazing first half of the
he's
season.
probably
He didn't-
worth
he-
30
he didn't
is
wanna
the
leave.
question.
I honestly don't know, mate. I don't know.
He's gonna. You need that pure profit, mate.
We need the
Let's talk a little bit about Richarlison, your boy.
Yeah.
We put him on fraud
True.
watch. I think we can officially take him off because looking at the stats in the season, 15 starts, 5 sub-appearances, 10 goals. And it's not just the goals. When we've been watching him, he's putting in complete centre-forward performances where he's bullying defenders, he's running in behind. And ironically, I don't know if you know about Callum Wilson's podcast he does with the lad from West Ham up front.
It's Antonio,
sorry. Yeah. They were mugging Richarlison off.
I remember.
For celebrating without scoring. He's got more than both of those lads combined this season.
Yeah.
He is doing an Almiron on Grealish to those two. And Callum Wilson's never looked worse, to be honest with you. Like, no disrespect, it's just a fact. So tell me, how good is Richarlison being this season?
I mean, the whole season is one thing, but the last 9 games, what has he got? 9 goals in his last 8 games. He's been amazing, man.
Beast, man.
He's with that Harry Kane void. We thought, is he going to be able to step up? Those are massive boots to fill. Especially, we thought Son was going to be that guy because he started centre forward at the beginning of the season. Since Richarlison's come back from that surgery, and we've moved Son left, and he's gone through the middle, he's been on fire. And like you said, it's not just the fact that he's getting goals. It's his all-round play. It's the fact that he's being a nuisance.
He's like a man possessed, isn't he?
Yeah, he's tracking back. He's pinning himself against centre-backs. He's scoring all kinds of goals, like left foot, right foot, headers, set plays. He's just contributing in all kinds of... And the goals, do you see the goal he scored against Everton? The one that Maddison kind of like flicked off and then he's just kind of like shot it in. He's been very, very good. And I think he's proved a lot of doubters, including me, because I was looking at him going... I don't know about this guy. I don't know if he's worth that price tag. Like, Everton's one thing, no disrespect to Everton, but coming to Spurs is still, even if we aren't, one of the big clubs.
40?
I think it was more. I think it was 50.
50 million.
I think it's around 50.
Yeah. I thought it was 40.
I think it's around 50.
Another. You know, when we were talking about Poch earlier about how he's not getting the tune out of so many of these talented players, it's another one where Big Ange can go, I've seen something in you. I can bring this out of you. He is. It's one thing where, you know, players haven't hit the heights. He's bringing out a version of Richarlison I've never seen before.
Yeah.
This is the best I've ever seen him play, and I got to give credit to the man.
You know, when you say about him stepping up as well, like, it's one thing stepping up in the absence of Harry Kane. We knew that. We were sort of looking at that from the start of the season. Is it Son? Is it Richarlison? Who's going to do it? But not only that, he stepped up recently in the context of how this season's going. He stepped up when you've needed him recently. Like, Spurs went on that bad run. Was it 4 losses on the bounce?
4 and 5,
yeah. Like, you went on a bit of a bad run, whatever. And then since then, you've seen him really step up a bit, and now he's proven his worth a lot.
Yeah.
So, but you do know the rules of Fraud Watch, didn't you? If you take one player out, you got to put one in.
Is that Mudryk?
What, from the same team?
I think Mudryk was already in there.
Is Matt from the same team? Or
No,
in general?
not from the same team, just in general. I'll give you a suggestion.
joke.
People are going to hate this. People think it's out of order. Calvin Phillips. I've seen him a couple of times for West Ham. He's been absolutely rubbish, hasn't he?
But wasn't he already on Fraud
You
Watch?
was watching the game earlier. I'm surprised you never told me. One of the goals was from Calvin Phillips slipping again. He's done it twice in a week.
Mate, it's fucking terrible.
No, it's good.
But yeah,
Pep knows his talent, mate.
I think. Sorry, just take it back to Richarlison for a sec. I think one of the things that have really impressed me with him as well is, one thing that used to annoy me so much was his body language. So, you know, when players, they're just always huffing and puffing. It's what we say about Bruno Fernandes. You know, they might be a good player, but their body language just seems very like they're sulking a lot. Yeah. And that was Richarlison. It just seemed like when things didn't go his way, he's always sulking, never smiling. I understand some people, even men, have a resting bitch face. Like, it is what it is. And Richarlison came across as one of those players. But yeah, since the turn of the year, that's gone. His body language just seems to be positive. It just seems to be, I want to try. I want to keep going. Even when things don't go my way, I keep trying. And people have him down as a shithouse player, but I thought he was quite respectful to Everton.
A manager can... I put some of that down to the manager.
Yeah.
Like, he just makes you want to run through brick walls, this guy. He makes... Like, when players love a manager, it's so obvious.
Yeah.
And we've seen that with Eddie Howe last season. We've seen it a bit with Emery this season, and now we're seeing it with...
I'll tell you what's more obvious, when rival team supporters love a manager. Like, I love Ange. I think he's brilliant. And I'm a Chelsea fan. Shouldn't be saying that, you know what I mean? But I think he's brilliant.
His answers in press conferences are fucking class.
I'll tell you as well, yeah, someone who I know it's only in recent weeks has been complimenting Richarlison very well. Timo Werner's having it off a bit as well.
Chance for Arsenal?
Well, speaking of Fraud Watch, a lot of people said that, you know, Werner should be in the Fraud Watch category. I always liked
What,
Werner
since
a
his
lot.
performances after coming in?
Not at Spurs, as in his Chelsea
I did say, I think it was before we had seen him make his debut. I'm pretty sure I saying to you, Craig, Timo Werner's like going to be a player that surprises a lot of people because Timo Werner, what he's probably not, is an out-and-out goal scorer. And when he was brought to Chelsea, you were thinking, out-and-out goal scorer, 50-odd goals over 2 seasons in Bundesliga. But we're sort of seeing that can happen, and it doesn't translate. Havertz, we're yet to see on Nkunku, other players. But I tell you what, in terms of someone who will run through a brick wall for you, Werner will do that.
He's like Nunes, right? Like,
he's
got that energy.
Listen, he's going to be a bit part player. When Son gets back from the Asia Cup, he's going to sit on the bench.
Yeah, but when you say about a bit part player, look how important Kulusevski was for you when he came in that season. And he's not necessarily first name on the team sheet. So I think in a system like Spurs' where they're not, listen, you've got individual talent, but it's not like you're so reliant on it. Yeah, you've seen other players come out of the team and you still played well. In a system like Spurs', it might be a bit part, but it'd be an important bit part player.
No, but the only reason I say that is because we're not in any other cups now. So when Son gets back, the 11's going to pick itself. All the best players are just going to start. So the only way he's going to get in on that left is if Son gets injured. Do you know what I mean? That's other than that. If we were in other cup competitions,
who's the front forward in your best team?
Maddison in the middle, Son on the left, Richarlison up top, and on the right, Kulusevski. Brennan Johnson's not doing it for me.
Could Werner not rival Kulusevski on the right?
Potentially, but I think Kulusevski gives you more. I think he scores more goals. He's a bit stronger. He might get on there. I wouldn't be mad. That right spot is up for grabs. They can fight between themselves because Brennan Johnson has not been pulling
I was going to say, is that not a worry for you that we're looking at Kulusevski? Yeah, we know what he's like and he's good. And we're looking at Werner and saying, I'd probably, as someone who doesn't have a horse in a race, I'd probably put both of them ahead of...
Terrible! It's chaos! It's 1-1! After next to no shots on target, Liverpool have just fucking fumbled it in the back of the net.
Why was letting this go out of his hands? It looked like he had 2 hands on the ball.
Mate, he waited for the keeper to come and get it, the defender, and it was chaos.
Worst time to concede.
Cameraman's not earning his money. He should have panned to Ramsdale ages ago.
Mate, Liverpool are so fortunate because it's been 4 shots on target to 0, and now Arsenal have handed them a fucking equaliser there. Like,
who are you blaming here, Jacob? Is it Raya?
I think I need to see the replay here.
I need to see it again, but
it's just perseverance from Luis Diaz, man.
So Gravenberch gets the ball.
It's a nice ball over the top
to Diaz.
So Saliba, here I want my keeper on it.
What is
happening? You can't blame Raya for that, you think?
I think it's Saliba.
It's
I feel like it's a
Saliba.
lack of communication between the defender and the keeper.
I want the goalie jumping
goal
on
off Gabriel.
No, you want your goalkeeper jumping on that
ball.
ball.
No, don't blame Raya for this. Come on. Raya's always the scapegoat for this. Look, he's poked it, it's hit his hand and gone in. Like, what's the keeper going to do there?
Liverpool have been let off here big time.
Raya, I'm not saying
just Diaz's perseverance.
It's not Raya's fault.
No.
Raya could do better.
Yeah.
They could have all done better. Gabriel could have done better. Saliba could have done better. All 3 of them could have done better in that scenario.
Head in his hands, yeah, fuck me.
Back in the day, if you're watching a Premier League goalkeeper, he jumps all over that ball.
So are we just not going to give Gabriel and Saliba their criticism and their role they played in that?
I don't know what Gabriel does wrong. Gabriel's there, it hits him and goes in, but I don't know what more he's supposed to do. Saliba, look, this is one thing when I was saying earlier about areas where we've maybe gone a bit backwards since last season. Ramsdale made some mistakes last season. He made some big mistakes. I can give you a long list of David Raya mistakes. Now, I think fair enough. That's the
one thing we don't have here, though, is the community. We can't hear.
No, exactly.
So does Saliba go, keeper? Like,
no,
does he?
But Brian, we brought in David Raya in August. We gave Aaron Ramsdale a contract in June. My issue is if you do really want to replace your number 1, A, don't give Ramsdale a contract. B, get Raya in nice and fucking early so you can actually sort out some communication stuff, actually work out your defensive unit throughout the summer. Because there's been a lot of this.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of people not knowing what they're doing, who's coming, who's going, and that is completely in. But we weren't perfect in that first half. You couldn't really
you were in
much
control. Just to be clear on the stats, 8 shots to 3, 4 on target to 0, and for a lot of that game was played in the Liverpool half. You know what I mean? And when Liverpool were going forward, you weren't like fearful of them scoring. So for you guys to just hand that over in an own goal like that is mad.
Ramsdale saves that. Do you not think? Do you not think Ramsdale comes out, claims that ball in a way that Raya never would?
I'm not. What I'm not going to do is get into would Ramsdale save that or not, because we saw a throw earlier in the game where he just fucking launched it out to Martinelli and we're through. So there's pros and cons to both keepers. I'm not saying that one's better than the other.
Ramsdale could do that with his hands though, couldn't he?
Yeah, well, this is my frustration a lot of the time, is that actually I think when you look at some of the stuff Raya does really well, Ramsdale could do it. We've seen in interviews where Ramsdale's saying things like, oh, well, me and the coach have actually made an agreement and we've sort of met in the middle. Well, I'm not going to do certain things, we'll do something. It's like, bollocks to that. If you're super coach, get him doing what you want him to do. My annoyance is the way we've handled this whole goalkeeping situation is so messy, so mucky. Joey said it himself. Every time Raya mucks up, we see a panning shot to Ramsdale in the stands. And you know that that's made Raya worse this season. If you actually wanted to replace Ramsdale with Raya, get Raya in nice and early, say thank you very much, Aaron, out the door for 40 million quid somewhere, and we move on. The problem we've got now, we've got this complete and utter mess where both keepers are performing worse than they were last season for Brentford and Arsenal respectively because you've handled it so badly, and the defenders do not have the chemistry with Raya that they used to have with Ramsdale.
Is it an obligation to buy? There's no clauses like it.
It's done. It's done. We sort of moved money around because we were against FFP, so we did a 3 million loan, and we've agreed to pay another 27 come the summer. So Raya's our keeper, and this whole thing. I didn't like what Arteta said in the media. It was like, oh, I've always thought you should have two keepers. They should be able to compete. Bollocks. No one ever thought that was going to happen. Everyone could see from the very off, Raya's our new goalkeeper.
Yeah.
And there's a couple of things like this where I'm not slating Arteta. I'm not Arteta out. 'Cause I think this is the problem with talking about football, especially on the internet nowadays. It's so childish. You either think the manager should have a 10-year contract or he should be sacked in the morning. There are things that I want him to improve at, and it's stuff like this which is a big one.
You just took a shot at Chelsea fans. I hear you, man. I hear you, man. That's what they do. Long contracts. Get him out straight away.
Yeah.
Don't want him
Silva's
about.
misses.
What?
Ooh.
That's
So, Joy's just sent me a tweet here.
Yeah.
seen that.
What's that? We're going?
Thiago Silva's
Thiago Silva's
missus
missus.
has said, it's time to change. If you wait any longer, it will be too late.
Sorry. How old is Thiago Silva? How old is he?
39.
She needs to fucking pack it in. She's probably about 40 herself.
Wait, I'll tell you what. You see Belle Silva. She goes on away days and sits in the away end like the fans and that. She was at Fulham away.
Well, we all know Craig's beliefs about women in football, so just
What's my belief?
just all let her pack it in.
He's putting words in your mouth.
Whoa.
All right,
No,
but seriously.
How long has Thiago Silva got left in the game?
About 5 minutes.
Yeah, Thiago Silva's got about 3 months left.
Right.
But,
Can I just ask,
Belle Silva is a
is
very
it-
respected voice in the Chelsea community.
But is
She
it appropriate?
It's definitely
It's
not
mental.
appropriate.
It's mental.
It's mental.
Mate.
But she must have some insider information if she's doing stuff like that.
Whatever.
You know what?
Let's
As
go
well,
see
yeah.
what Astrid
You know
Wet
where?
thinks.
You know where? Yeah.
Let's go see what she thinks.
Her and Jackson are close.
Astrid Wet nearly got her head took off by that shot. Was it Nunes blast one over the
Yeah,
bar?
did
Nearly
Did
hit
it?
her. Yeah.
Did it hit her or no?
He
Nearly
didn't
did.
hit her. No.
Nearly did.
No.
That would be hilarious.
So yeah, I mean, Belle Silva is tweeting that. I'll tell you what, if it was like Mudryk's misses, if he's got one, or one of the more underperforming players, I think everyone would be scapegoating that player straight away. I think where it's Thiago Silva's misses tweeting it, you probably got a little bit of leverage there. But at the end of the day,
What do you
Why
mean?
do
Just
that, though?
as in, like, he's just a respected member of the
he's a
team?
respected member of the squad. He's someone that more often than not can walk with his head held high in terms of where we are at the moment. Whereas I think if one of the players that's coming under a lot of criticism, I mean, mate, like, not saying anything about his performance, but I don't know if Sterling's got a partner, but if his partner tweets that, he's getting hammered.
But
Like,
can I say, how do you feel about that though? Like family members and stuff just giving their opinions, and so like, I don't think that's right.
You know the
man.
worry
shouldn't be
for me,
doing
though.
that.
So it's his wife, right? Like, men talk to their missus, right? Like, have them whinge about work or whatever, as the vice versa, right? He must be saying stuff to her about
100%.
how things are going. For
Come
her
on.
to come out with that,
Can
there's
you
no
blame
way
it?
she's done that if everything's hunky. I mean, we all know it's not hunky
Listen.
fucking dory. We can see the fucking performances, but Silva must be saying to her, it's
Of
shit.
course, but he's saying it in
Listen,
confidence.
they might-
Like, why the fuck is she taking
Mate, you
social
know
media?
you can't tell women shit in confidence. They've got social media.
They may not have these conversations, right? But if they do speak about work, as couples do,
Yeah.
and Thiago Silva says to Belle Silva, look, my work is not going great at the minute, but we've got such a good group of lads.
How's your job going?
The manager's
Belle?
brilliant.
Sorry,
yeah.
you don't have a job because you're my wife and I'm a rich footballer.
You got to
so don't worry about it.
remember that.
How's your job going?
Let's just
Check
talk
my
about my
Twitter.
job.
Thiago Silva's kids play for Chelsea, right? Thiago Silva's kids play for Chelsea. Belle Silva has been there in the crowd, in the away end. She's got her own voice. She can say what she wants.
Yeah, but
she's got her own.
yeah, but they
perspective on it.
shouldn't. though.
But she wouldn't.
Can
be,
she though?
She wouldn't talk out
Yeah.
of pocket. Like, she wouldn't be speaking out of turn, saying things that in my opinion, knowing the way couples behave, men and women, either way, if one of them has a job, you don't go and speak like that in such a public way if you think that your other part ain't going to fucking agree with
I'm not going to lie. Thiago Silva, I could kind of understand him thinking in the same way that Belle does. And I think she's a strong woman. And I think she's just basically saying what she thinks as well.
But he's very candid as well,
I think Thiago Silva kind of, publicly kind of agrees.
No, I've seen
he
he takes it on the chin when he gets criticism. I think that's partly why he's gained a lot of respect outside of his great performances. Is when he does have a stinker, he will hold his hands up and go, yeah, that wasn't good enough. But there's no other option for me to believe than he and her both think that it's time to go.
Wait, yeah, that's what I'm saying. We're ignoring the context here. When we're saying about she has her right to... Yeah, of course. Yeah. She has her right to say that weren't good enough from the boys today.
Why do we need
if you look at the wording, it's time to change. If you wait any longer, it'll be too... You're saying sack the manager.
You're
saying sack the manager.
I don't like that. I think if you're in and around the squad and you're a sibling or you're a partner or anything, I don't think you should be saying things like, because now it's just going to put Thiago Silva in an awkward position with his manager now. Now he's going to have to come into training and have a conversation with
Thiago Silva, right, is one of the best defenders that we've ever seen. Yeah. That is that simple. So for someone to go, oh yeah, Thiago Silva's opinion isn't valid. Of course it's valid. If Thiago Silva doesn't think the manager isn't good enough, and his missus is saying that at the same time, that's absolutely fine.
But it's not professional, man.
Writing's on the wall. This isn't new information. This isn't new information. Like we're going, oh my god, Pochettino. Wait a second, Pochettino could get sacked. What?
I love Thiago Silva goes into training tomorrow. Poch is like, fuck me, mate. Your wife giving us the writing's on the wall, mate.
Yeah, Thiago Silva, mate. Thiago Silva has got enough credibility in the game. He'll be going to Pochettino and going, yeah, mate, to be honest with you, your formations are shit. I don't actually really agree with you. Pochettino shouldn't be saying that.
I'm not talking about even specifically this context. I'm talking about in football in general. I just don't agree with people that are in the house with footballers going out, airing out the managers or your boss like that. To me, that's just not a good look. Why would you do that?
I mean,
like when like you said, the writing might be on the wall for Pochettino. The players might feel that way. I just don't think that's what people around you should be doing. If I'm telling you things in confidence, you shouldn't be going on social media straight after we've lost and doing that. I think it's distasteful. That's just my opinion.
Yeah. I think it's distasteful.
I'd agree.
I think it's distasteful, absolutely distasteful. And I wouldn't want anyone around me doing something similar to that if I was playing at a Premier League football club. But I get why she's saying it.
She's got form for it.
I think she's
got form.
That's just super emotional.
So what's she done before? Like,
what was the tweet? We were under Graham Potter. She was tweeting when we were under Graham Potter. People,
tell you what, she was right about him as well.
She
was.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
No, but this is facts.
They know what they're talking about.
Belle, Silva, and Twitter surrounding Chelsea's chaos. There's a history to it.
There's an argument to say she's better liked than Pochettino is. There is a very strong argument to say in the Chelsea community that she is.
I'd rather go for a meal with her.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. I don't think it's a good look, to be honest. I don't think it is. I think that if you're Thiago Silva, you're pretty sat there thinking, oh, babe. Like,
exactly. Because
can't take you anywhere, can I?
He's got to have that conversation with the boss tomorrow. And he might be more respected in football, cool, whatever. But it's still, that's your boss at the end of the day. You've got to have that conversation.
Thiago Silva retiring in 3 months, he does not give a fuck.
It don't matter, man. It's about being professional.
Seems like they're both his boss.
Wait, can I say something as well?
Where's the trousers in that one?
Do you know that kind of behaviour? That's what you expect from a wife whose partner's not even playing.
Yeah.
Like, he plays every game. He fucking scored today. Like, it's not like he's sitting on the bench, the old guy that's not getting picked no more.
He scored today.
He scored.
That's why she's piping up. She's like, well, you did your job.
Yeah.
That's not even his job as well.
Mudryk's looking at the old assist chart going...
He's won everything. He's won absolutely everything. And she's been there through the whole time. She knows what it takes to be a winner.
Yeah.
He's there. He's won everything. Do you know what? If I was putting someone that I'd want to back more than anything, it'd be Thiago Silva. He's won everything. He's elite.
He never won the World Cup. He never won Conference League.
He ain't won the World Cup, mate. He ain't won the World Cup.
Wow.
Yeah. Never won a raffle.
Well done.
But he has won everything pretty much.
Nah, he's a good lad.
We'll talk about Newcastle, my club, because it's not been a great...
I'm worried about your mentions, mate, because there's a good chance United finish above Newcastle this season. There's going to be some United fans getting ready, the tweeting fingers.
I've got some stats for you, Brian. So last season, you finished in 4th place with 71 points. You only lost 5 games in the entirety of the season, and you only conceded 33 goals. Whereas this year, so far, I think it's 23 games or 22 games, you've had 10 losses and 37 goals conceded. So I suppose the question from all of us is, what's gone wrong?
Well, I mean, I don't want to go through the injuries because I think that's a boring topic. And, we have lost the most days by a mile via injuries. But and the fact is we massively overperformed last season. So it kind of set us up for a definite failure. I never thought I was hopeful we might, but realistically, we weren't going to be able to repeat it with Champions League football. And with those injuries, with the fitness levels that Champions League takes out of us, we're a team that's got barely 11 good players who can compete, and a hell of a lot of championship level footballers. And unfortunately, when we lose those good players, these championship players play a lot more games and you get exposed. And that's exactly what happened and has been happening lately. I mean, that Luton game, it was it really pissed me off that. And what annoyed me a little bit more is there's people celebrating that we got the draw, and I get it, but you're kind of missing the point. And I get annoyed at Man United fans for doing this, for example. They'll nick a win or they'll nick a draw and it'll be, we showed spirit. And it's yeah, spirit, but where the fuck is this going right now? In terms of defending, we were rock solid last season. Our defence this season has been atrocious. And, we've got our favourites and Eddie's got his favourites. And I think that's a bit of a problem because to start Dan Burn now over Livramento, it's really negligible. You're getting skinned week in, week out. And he had to hook Dan Burn. Dan Burn had an okay couple of moments against Villa, but the reality was they were targeting him. And they're targeting him every week. And when you're playing against one of the fastest wingers against Luton, and you've got Livramento, who is one of the best young fullbacks I've seen at Newcastle ever. And to me, I mean, the biggest compliment I can pay him is he looks like he should be playing for Pep Guardiola, not us. He's really that good. And we're starting Dan fucking Burn, who is just getting murdered, game in, game out. And it's not just Dan Burn. It's how inconsistent the centre-backs have been. And Trippier's had his mistakes this season. And look, Nick Pope getting injured was another big blow. But, defensively, we've been poor. But it's not just the defence, it's the midfield. Without Joe Linton, we look so soft. It's embarrassing. Longstaff scored 2 goals yesterday. Now, normally when a player scores 2 goals, you're like, fucking hell, midfielder scoring 2 goals. But aside from that, he did fuck all, mate. He's a waste of a shirt. He's the most positionally irresponsible midfielder, and he hides away. So you'll see him sort of buzzing around, but you don't know what the fuck he's doing.
Saying this after he scored a racist.
Mate, I can't believe it. Mate, he's a Geordie lad.
A homegrown midfielder scoring a brace.
The
it says it, doesn't it?
Double goal hero.
But when they break on us and when we concede, and as he did, he lost the ball for one of the goals. He's just such a clumsy championship level player. And what we know about midfields now more than ever at this level is off the ball. It's so much more important even than on the ball. If you want to make sure you're hard to beat. And off the ball, I mean, on the ball he's shite, but off the ball he's absolute shite as well. At least, with Lewis Miley, 17-year-old lad, some of the technique he has in his passing, I'm blown away by. I never watch anything Sean Longstaff does and I'm blown away. I'm astounded by how bad he can be. Bruno Guimaraes, I've given him a lot of praise. That was one of his worst games. That against Luton, that was pretty fucking pathetic, And I'm now starting to really question, how bad is it when just because Joe Linton isn't there, we look this weak completely throughout the team? And
so, Brian, let me ask you.
It isn't just Joe Linton, though. We're saying it, I understand the point you're making, but it isn't just Joe Linton. You haven't got Tonali there, who you'd spent a load of money on. You've been absolutely ravished by injury. Everyone knows the sequel's never as good as the first movie anyway. You just sort of have to accept that. And looking at how high the bar of expectation was set, I was saying to you off air earlier on that if Newcastle were having this sort of season, bearing in mind a season where you've beat Aston Villa in 2 ties, you've beat Arsenal, you've beat Man United, you've had a historic night against PSG, and you're sitting around 10th in the table, right? If Newcastle were having this sort of season, had you have not had the season you'd had last season, obviously, escape relegation, I know you got your way up the table, I don't think we're looking at it going, crisis. I don't think we're looking at it, not saying you are, but potentially questioning Eddie Howe's job. I think that the height of where you went to last season has distorted expectation a little bit here.
I'm worried a little bit for Eddie, because our fan base, there's different sections always, everyone else, but there's murmurs now of I'll give you a reason. You conceded 3 at home to Forest last month. You conceded 4 at home to Luton this month. That's not good enough. at all. Chris Wood scoring 3 goals against you is the biggest disgrace to football I've ever seen at St James's Park.
It's not just the goals conceded. It's if you look at the attacking metrics, like last 5 games, you rank 19th for goals conceded, bottom of the table for shots on target faced, bottom of the table for shots faced, bottom for XG against. So it's like everything when it is not just the goals you're conceding, it's the chances, it's the shots, it's the chances at goal from the opposition you're conceding. It's just...
Well, and we can't... In terms of strikers, like Isak, for me, is one of the most naturally gifted strikers in the Premier League. I put him just behind Haaland. I think he's that fucking good. He's fucking so brittle. He's injured so regularly. And you have to get... We've seen with Reece James, we talked about him. You can be as good as you want, but if you're not reliable and you're not going to be there, teams eventually have to move on from you. Now, I don't think we're anywhere near that point with Isak, but I'm fucking frustrated. And with Callum Wilson, I mean... Just wait for this.
Go on the attack. Oh, fizz the cross.
With Callum Wilson, I think his game now, we're starting to see him really aging, and we're really seeing the deterioration of his legs. He doesn't look anywhere near the player he has been in the past, and I've been a huge supporter of his. And it all boils down to how many championship players we still have. And a lot of people will look at the fact that Newcastle finished 4th, Man United finished 3rd. We're comparing the two, for example. We're comparing this to other teams that were high up there. We had no business being in the top 4. We were filled with championship players. And I look at this team and I go, all right, Dan Burn, you could argue barely a Premier League footballer. Lewis Miley, 17 years old. Longstaff, championship footballer. Murphy, championship footballer. Almiron, championship footballer. Like, we're surrounded by them. Do you know what I mean? So, like, we can't... It's a reality check of where we are.
Where does Eddie Howe and this Newcastle project go now, going forward? So even into next season, where does this go? Because obviously you did have that taste of Champions League football.
Yeah.
Maybe it was ahead of schedule, fair enough. But obviously this season there's been a regression. Injuries obviously have played a part in that. But other teams have now strengthened as well. They've also taken steps forward. So where does this project go now, especially with financial fair play hindering
I think
how you
FFP
spend?
is a great thing to bring up because I think that's going to massively hinder Eddie. And I think we're kind of lucky to have Eddie in the regards of he's really used to making chicken salad out of chicken shit. Like, he did that for Bournemouth for years, and he's going to have to do it with some of these players because we're not just going to get rid of the deadwood overnight. But I'm worried because Eddie's making mistakes 2 games in a row. Like, it's one of those things where the entire fan base is singing for Livramento while Dan Burn's on the pitch. That's alarming. When Dan Burn got skinned when Dan Burn was getting skinned the game before and Eddie starts him the next game, that's where when you make basic mistakes as a manager, we're not talking about the level of tactical nous that Eddie probably has. When everyone goes, he's having a horrendous time, he's getting done, and he's giving goals away, and you're still starting him when you've got one of the best fullbacks in English football on the bench, that's where the whole fan base kind of has to look at you and go, hey, we love you, Eddie, but you're fucking this up, mate.
When we talk about the FFP situation as well that you've got going on there, does it not make you question a little bit? And obviously, with your allegiance to the club and with how much you love these players, respect these players, it's going to be very hard to do this. But say, for example, to use the comparison, Conor Gallagher, right? Me and Josh don't want Conor Gallagher to go, but we can also separate it and understand that if he does go, we understand the reasoning behind it. This transfer window just gone. You did have an opportunity, really, to move on Kieran Trippier, which will seem like madness for any Newcastle fan, realising that he's been one of the pivotal parts, maybe the main cog in your progression recently, and potentially Callum Wilson, right? You had the chance to move both of those guys on. You've actually got not even suitable backups, but maybe heir to the thrones for both of those guys. Definitely with Callum Wilson and Isaac, but even so, Livramento and Kieran Trippier over there. Do you think that maybe you shot yourself in the foot a little bit by not entertaining any offers for those 2 guys? Because there was clubs that wanted them.
Yeah, I think the squad's so thin, Eddie was like, we can't fucking lose them because like we're down to the bare bones as it is. We've got like 10 injuries all the time. It never goes down. Like in the last 3 games, we've had Joe Linton, Isak and Gordon injured in consecutive matches. So I think there's a fear there, but I personally think they were willing to let both of those guys go. I think that the Bayern Munich bid was lower than what they were expecting. I think it was like 15 million, and they were like, we need them more.
13 mil or
something like that. And then I don't know what happened with Wilson, but I think we need to let Wilson go immediately because he has aged over. He's aged quickly.
The thing is, though, with these 2 players that you mentioned, both of them were signed for fees, I believe. They were transfer feed, both players. They weren't free transfers, were they?
No.
No, Trippier was 35 mil.
So there you go. So when we're talking about FFP and the calculations,
Trippier
was about 10, 15.
yeah.
Oh, was he?
Yeah.
yeah.
I thought
But
you
when,
played
but when
for-
you're talking about the FFP calculations, that none of that is pure profit. You're probably going to make in terms of like your books. You're going to be making £5 million or something like that on both those transfers, even if you got like above their market rate at the moment. So to say that doesn't necessarily solve your problem. Even if you sell 2 of your better players, that doesn't solve your issues. So when you're thinking about the summer and how he's going to strengthen, and I do think you should give Howe some time, and I do think it's a bit harsh to be blaming him too much. But like you understand here, the wiggle room that you're going to have to make any changes in the summer is incredibly low.
No, I
Incredibly
completely
low.
am backing Howe, but but also like it's just a facts of life. If you're losing 3-1 to Forest at home or whatever, 3-0, 3-1, and then you're conceding 4 to Luton and giving yourself a mountain to climb against fucking Luton, I got to give Luton credit. Like they played all right on the day, but do you know the saddest bit about it was I've seen Luton play better than that. I think Luton have played some great football this season. That game, we were just so pathetically wide open, and we made life as easy as humanly possible for them. And that was the thing that I was watching. Like, why are we doing this? Like, when they get the ball, where are our midfielders?
Yeah.
They're fucking so out of position, and that is where you're like, that's Eddie Howe's job. Do you know what I mean? So
is he the man to make Newcastle dine at the big table? Is he
I've
the
backed
guy?
him. I've
Is he the
backed
guy
him.
with all of these things in place? Like we said, financial fair play, the fact that the big teams are now back where they're supposed to be. Can he sit at that table with Klopp, Pep, Arteta? Is he that guy?
I think so.
I think it's a
think he is?
it's a very hard question to answer when he hasn't got the money that so many of these managers have been able to spend. But what I think without doubt he's the best option now. But I must admit, even like in the past, couple of months, I've been frustrated. I've been like, you're making some wrong moves here, but I'll give you the time to sort it out because you have to big your players up. You can't let them know how shit they are. Like, you've got to make them want to run through brick walls and that they can be the best version of themselves. Like what Big Ange's done with Richarlison. His confidence must have been shot at one point, and now he's playing like a man possessed. So I can only trust that Eddie Howe was trying to big the Dan Burns, the long staffs up, so to get him over the line. But
that's what I was going to say.
I hope he's watching them, seeing what I'm seeing, which is that they're fucking shit.
But that's what I was
You know
going to
what I
say.
mean?
That's why it's kind of difficult. Like, I like Eddie Howe, I'm not going to lie, I do. But that's why it's kind of difficult because you use Ange as the example. We were in a similar situation, not as many injuries as you, but we were missing a lot of players over that Christmas period. We had a lot of injuries, a lot of suspensions. We were probably the club closest to you in that regard. And still managed to find a way to get us through the bad periods and get players. We were playing with Royale and Ben Davis at centre back.
I mean, you had
we were playing four fullbacks across the whole back four for like 7 games.
I would
A lot of
argue that
losses.
Eddie Howe has still managed a way to keep Newcastle in with a chance of getting Europa League football. I mean, you
10
had those
losses, though.
You had those losses.
10
how
losses.
Many have Spurs had?
5.
5, yeah. I mean, look, do you know what? If I was to compare like a manager's form to a player's form, right? We're watching Arsenal now. Odegaard. He was on fire last season, right? This season, he's been nowhere near the same, but he's shown enough to still show us that, there's still a brilliant player there. He's just having a little bit of a lull period here, and I would back him towards the latter ends of this season or next season to be just as good as he was the season before. When I look at Eddie Howe, I still see this season, I've said about it before, but all right, it was against Sheffield United, an 8-0 win in there, a win against PSG where you came up and you put in a historic performance. The wins that you've had in there, I've seen enough for me to go, you're going through a really hard, difficult time, but you're still the guy.
No, like, exactly. Like, we've beaten Arsenal, we've beaten PSG, we've beaten Man United, we've beaten Chelsea, we've beaten some, solid teams. And I do have confidence in the future, but he's got to get certain things right. Now, for an example, re-signing Miguel Almiron on a long-term contract after one good season in 5 years was fucking stupid. And what we had recently in the January was a chance to get rid of that brain-dead fucking moron to Saudi Arabia for whatever money. And he was able to go, no, I'm happy in Newcastle. I'm like, of course you are. We've just re-signed you for fucking 3 years for 60 grand a week. You're fucking useless. And if we hadn't have done that, we'd have been cashing in and maybe signing Gibbs White or whoever it was that we were linked with at the time.
The problem is, though, is that you can't force a player to go to somewhere he doesn't want to go.
But
to. If the only bid is Saudi Arabia,
but the point I'm making is if Almiron had only 1 year left on his contract, which he did when we re-signed him, and we were able to go, hey, we're not re-signing you, so you better fucking take this because it's the only fucking good deal you're going to get. He would have been more likely to be able to be pushed out the door. Whereas if Almiron just runs his contract down, he's fucked. Like,
you're in a similar situation to me and Josh, where like
he's a shit player.
I'm really worrying about the exodus, if that's even the word, of like the players leaving Saudi and the way that it's looking like it's going over there, because I don't know in the next transfer window if they're going to go as big as they did in the summer window before. In fact, I would think they probably won't. And now, if you're a Chelsea fan, if you're a Newcastle fan, and you have got Deadwood or players that you think that other guys aren't going to come in for, I think you're really worried about that, because Saudi were going to be our saviours in getting some of these idiots off our hands.
Good news, Joey. They've got £3 billion to spend in the summer.
But it's not about. It's not just about the money they've spent.
If players don't want to go, how do you get
100%. But also, if players don't want to go, but they're getting paid 8 times what the money they're going to get paid here, then
I don't know, mate. Look how much they were getting paid.
I don't know how good the offer was.
You do it for a year, though. You do it for a year. That's what they're doing. They're going for a year, make what they make in 5 years
I don't
here,
think
and
the
then
Saudis
leaving.
just want them there for a year. And I think they'll wise up to that and they'll stop offering it for that, because I think that when you look at it, right, the amount of money that Jordan Henderson was making, the amount of money, you can't go to me, but if he was making double that. No, I believe there is a cap.
How did he get away with that? How did he get away with that?
He didn't take the money. So basically what he did is he was going to defer all of his wages because it was going to be in a different tax year. He wouldn't have been able to bring that home. So basically he deferred all his wages. He didn't actually end up getting paid. So basically what he said is, if I can leave right now, I will not take any of those wages. And
he didn't get no money?
He didn't get any money. Well, he got a very small amount of what he should have got paid.
And now he's only getting like 40 grand a week, 50 grand a week. Can we do a GoFundMe?
He's fucked it.
I honestly believe, though, with that, though, sorry, I know we're not supposed to be speaking about that, but I think it was more about his legacy and PR rather than him not liking living there. That's my...
I think it might have something to do with the fact that I was there watching him in the league's dead, to be honest.
Who?
No one's watching.
Sorry, that's Geordie language for nobody.
Sorry, I just had to translate it.
Thank you for that. My translator, Jose Marie. No,
you think he just wants to be seen, basically?
I know. What I mean is like, I think there's a lot of cultural things plus the football. Everything. Like, and by the way, like his team was shit. Like Steven Gerrard is having a nightmare in Saudi right now,
and just been given a 3-year contract.
Yeah,
I don't think that Henderson thought that it would all culminate in the sort of bad feeling that he did when he went over there, and that was why.
And also, you got to move your family to a new country. You can understand that. Like, moving to a new place is not easy.
Mate,
you can either
if I'm earning that sort of money, my family are going wherever I tell them. If I say, babe, we're going to live at North Pole for a bit, you better go and get a car.
But if
and you're going to do everything that
didn't
comes with it.
didn't have all those years left on his Newcastle contract, we could have forced that and pushed him.
The problem is, though, is that if he does run down the contract, which could have absolutely happened, then you end up getting no money for him, and it's rubbish for you for FFP anyway.
But think about this. Almiron would have been sitting there with a choice of, let's say, 200 grand a week in Saudi or a 60 grand a week contract that is going to run out in a year and no guarantee of anyone even wanting him because he's shit.
He can get that contract when he leaves. Free agents,
people are
take
coming
him.
for Almiron.
Yeah.
No, but the point is
people have
let's be honest here, Josh. I know you don't want to admit, but there's a link between Newcastle and Saudi, which means that contract is going to be extra nice for him if you take the fucking money, because we want better players at Newcastle. Do you know what I mean? There's that going on as well, and I think that might actually be one of the things that benefits Newcastle in that summer window, which is I don't think we're going to go crazy because we don't want to arise suspicions, but surely one player will be sold to
Jacob Murphy is going to be, under the tutelage
I'd be more thinking about the players you can get from Saudi.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Rather than the ones you're selling. I don't look at Newcastle at the minute in terms of players that are like surplus to requirements, are thinking, oh, big fee there, big fee there. The one thing you could say about Chelsea, and it's an indictment of where we are, but at least we can look at players that aren't getting minutes for us and go, there's 30 mil, there's 40 mil, there's 30 mil.
Mate.
Whereas Newcastle, you haven't really got that. So I'd more be looking at Saudi.
When you say this to me, though, you then list the Chelsea players and I'm going, that's not 30 mil.
Yeah.
You do it every week. I'm like, where's this money? Who's signing these players?
You got to remember, we got players out on loan that you can get some dough for. Like I reckon you can still get 10 mil for Ziyech. I reckon you can still get 30 mil for Lukaku. I know Lukaku's aging now, but he does what he says on the team.
He Saudi, doesn't he?
No, he don't. He wouldn't go over there originally.
No, but he's been talking about it recently, Joey.
Yeah.
He's
changed
going,
your fucking
Saudi
mind
Arabian
now.
football is excellent. He wants that money. Come on.
Yeah. Well, don't we all? So,
Who did Nunes come on for?
There was a triple substitution.
Came on for Gakpo,
Robertson's on as well.
how are you feeling watching this, mate? Because
Horrible.
you're
I know.
edge of your seat type stuff.
I'm jumping on top of your. Basically, what we've done at half time, we've taken Zinchenko off and gone for Kiwior, and that's Arteta's way of saying, right, give up on the.
Never heard of him.
Well, I wish I hadn't because he's not up so much.
Give up on what?
Give up on control, right? Zinchenko's in that team to keep the ball, to pass it around in midfield, and when we get the ball, he steps into midfield alongside Jorginho, pass the ball around. Essentially, what he's done by bringing Kiwior on is go, right, we're not going to invert from left back anymore. We're going to have Jorginho and Rice doing midfield on their own, and it's not about control anymore. It's about going hell to skelter with Liverpool, punch for punch, and we've got an extra defender on to try and stop conceding goals. The problem is that defender we brought on, Kiwior, he's probably our fourth choice left back behind Timber, Tomiyasu and Zinchenko. And you can see him puffing to try and catch Nunes now. His positional sense isn't good enough. Last game was against Fulham, conceded a goal his side. I don't trust Kiwior. And I've got to be honest with you, I think this is exactly what Liverpool want us to do, is play this. Look, it's back and forth. It's like tennis now.
I feel like the original plan of controlling Liverpool was working. You limited them to no shots on target. And look, obviously they were going to come and have a go in the second half after getting that goal. But I think to go punch for punch with a Deontay Wilder, it's not the best.
The problem is, when we gave them that goal on the stroke of half time, it sets Liverpool up now because Liverpool can draw this game. It's not a massive problem for them to draw this game.
You have to win.
We have to win this game, and Liverpool know that.
Is that Kiwior?
That's Kiwior there.
Great pass.
A draw is great for Pep. Let me say it again. It is great.
Look at the pleasure on it.
It is great for Pep.
Listen, but what you were saying...
I'd say an Arsenal win's better for Pep. Because
Either way,
I'm not
Liverpool not winning is
but
great for
Arsenal
Pep.
are more likely to then go and bottle it at some point anyway than Liverpool. I feel like when Liverpool got the bit between their teeth, they'll chop down on it.
Uncomfortable conversations.
It's interesting if you actually look
but who are historically recent form? Who are more
Arsenal
historic bottlers? Out
Here
of
we
the
go.
two?
In the box, it's a chance. Look, could be a foul. Referee says no penalty.
Havertz has slowed it down again.
Well, it's not so. It's just a really poor touch. He's just run in front of a defender. It would also be nice to see the camera angle now.
I just find it hilarious because no matter what happens in this game, Man City are winning the league. And I said this from the beginning.
Yeah.
From the very beginning, they're going to win this league.
don't know.
I think Liverpool do.
They're
I don't know.
not
I
going to
think
win
Liverpool-
Liverpool. No.
How long have they got till Salah's back?
Kevin De Bruyne, let me tell you something. Kevin De Bruyne and Haaland does not care about this Klopp narrative. Oh, he's leaving it. They don't give a fuck. Pep doesn't give a fuck. This is even more of a reason for them to swell the party. That's the motivation
Send him
for
a
them.
card at the end of the season, I'm sure.
So it's not.
Is this a...
This is
I'll
the
tell you
time
what,
of
Could
legs.
be a pen, you
That
know.
would
Tell
be
you
a
what,
men.
looks like he brings Havertz
looking
down,
at
right?
It's
Are
not
they
really
looking at it?
given. I don't think they're looking at it. I think Havertz gets the touch, but I think the problem is Havertz's touch is so
Are they
poor.
looking at
I don't feel McAllister comes across his path enough.
That's the problem.
If he
It's-
comes more across Havertz's
They're
path,
looking at it, though.
They're looking at it. Yeah,
They're
I think
looking
they
at
are.
it. They're having a look. They're having a look.
You know what it is, right? We all can sit here and say that this is not a clean tackle. It looked,
It's not.
It looked dangerous. It
me
was
see.
desperate.
His
It was a
foot
bit
goes-
messy.
I don't know, man. Havertz gets the first.
I think he
They
touches the
waved it
player
off.
before he
They
touches
waved it
the
off.
ball.
It's not a penalty. They waved it away.
No, that's
They
so
waved it away.
surprising. I have to say, it's so inconsistent at the moment, some of these decisions. Like, some of the penalties that have been given recently have been so
I don't
soft.
think any of us looked at it and thought it was Stonewall, though. We just looked at it and thought,
McAllister's leg hits Havertz's leg before he gets the ball.
Exactly.
Does he not?
And then
That's
he
a
brings him
penalty.
down.
Yeah.
So although it wasn't like your classic, and look, I know we don't want to have the kind of game where it's just like, oh fuck me, every time you touch a player and he goes down, it's a penalty. So, fair enough. But when you look at what Jota, let's remember that diving little cheating bastard, right? That little rodent.
the guy that ran around the keeper and then dived.
Mate, that guy dived 3 working days later after touching the keeper, right?
The sniper in the stadium caught him
And the
late.
keeper, it was like his little finger touched Jota and he went down and everyone was fine with it being a penalty. So if we're talking minimal contact's a penalty,
Not even
then
just-
that was more contact than that.
Not even just that, Brian. I missed this. I wasn't here for that stream. But what was your lot's reaction to that Van Dijk one on
Fucking hell.
Van
I was
Dijk?
fuming.
That was a penalty against you lot.
Yeah,
the
there was
problem
two,
is
though.
he
There was
kicked
Van
No, the one where he kicked him from behind.
Half, that's in Nkunku second half. In the first half, he drags Gallagher down.
That was a Stonewall penalty, and VR didn't even look at it.
And in that game, Jota did the same shit and fucking threw himself
Honestly,
like a bitch again.
The thing that we can't pipe up there is because we're going to lose that game regardless.
No,
Come on,
but at that stage, wasn't it 2-1 at that stage?
But the point is, these things matter, and because Liverpool are so good, like in the Newcastle game and the Chelsea game against Liverpool at Anfield, we get Newcastle have penalties not given to them.
Anfield.
Two very, very contentious, should have been given, know, and then you get that penalty given to Jota.
Anfield.
Same thing happens to Chelsea, and we're all like, well, Liverpool were going to win anyway. Yeah, but these things fucking matter.
These
things change games.
If we scored a penalty in the first 5 minutes, the game would have been different. We still probably would have lost. But come on.
Well, look at the Man City game. Look at the Arsenal game, both of which we got draws in if we hadn't have been given penalties in either of them. So they do change games and they take the sting out of games. They take the momentum out. So it can change things, but...
And look, I'm not saying that I think that this here was a Stonewall penalty, but what I'm saying is if you're going to give the bullshit that Jota gets on a weekly basis, where he gets a fucking a breath on a player, then you have to give all of the contact. Unbelievable! The keeper's had a fucking
Wow.
Yes.
Unbelievable!
What was I saying earlier?
Oh my
Direct football
God.
straight to Martinelli. That's straight from the fucking goalkeeper, mate.
What has Alisson done
Mate,
here?
it's the calamity between two of the greatest players in the Premier League, man.
What a gift.
These two centre-backs have been a bit shaky today for
Bloody
Liverpool.
hell.
I'll tell you what, I've got to be careful because
Are you all right?
I've got to be careful, man.
So we had a little bit of a medical scare recently.
Yeah.
We're going to keep an eye on him.
We're insured, aren't we?
Joey, just take his pulse.
Not for that.
Best
That
in the
is
world,
huge.
they call Van.
That is huge.
Let's watch the replay. Jacob, what talk us through this, mate. Your club have gone 2-1 up in a fucking huge game.
What we've got to say, we've basically seen the same thing happen at both ends of the pitch. This is straight from Magalhaes here, and it goes behind Van Dijk, and it's a little bit. You can see Van Dijk calling Alisson.
Alisson's had a shocker. That's on Alisson. That he's come to claim it and he's got nowhere near it. Shocking, mate. He's missed the ball completely.
What is that?
I've got to say.
That's match fixing.
I think Alisson's one of the greatest keepers in Premier League history, but I kind of like the fact that it's kind of gone tits from today because he is a bit of a cocky fucker.
Van Dijk's proper telling him that's yours. Like, look at the face. He's saying that's yours. That's yours.
Yeah, no.
Alisson ends up. I think he kicks Van Dijk in the back.
Earlier in the move, Van Dijk literally calls him on. Literally lifts his hand up, saying, "Come."
Do you not think Martinelli does well to give Van Dijk a bit of muscle there?
He does, mate. He's about 18 inches smaller than him. But what you've got to say, we've seen two goals that have been like mix-ups between keeper and centre back. This game has just been pure pressure from the first second.
Fuck me. Arteta is flying. He's floating.
Mate, the energy from that man could power my house tonight, honestly. This is why I love watching these games of football at the top of the Premier League right now, because it's so intense, it's so back and forth. The defenders and keepers are under so much pressure. Mistakes happen, man. And the only thing I'll say, I'll guarantee that's not the last goal scored on this pitch today. I guarantee it.
Someone's on the floor.
We need.
Jota, he's got absolutely spinned. He twisted.
There's a few players have gone down in the last 10 minutes or so. Saka went down at one point. McAllister was down after he should have given away a penalty. This game,
It's always felt like this kind of game for Liverpool, though. Like, I think Arsenal have done very well today. They've kept them at bay. Liverpool haven't looked like Liverpool to me.
I think we take that away from teams, though. When Man City came here in October, we Man City didn't look like Man City. They didn't create chances, so we kept a clean sheet. We need a 2-goal cushion in this
Not
game.
When we came to Emirates, we played well at Emirates.
The derbies are a fucker, aren't they?
Derbies are a fucker, and Jorginho's got something to talk about in that game. You might remember, but mate, we need a 2-goal cushion in this game because they've brought on Nunes now, and this is a game that suits Nunes down to the ground. I look at our bench. I've got to be honest with you. I feel nervous because I would love to see a Tomiyasu, Thomas Partey, Ewan Timber on that bench. Big physical players who can control the ball a bit. Smith Rowe, love him to bits. He's not a hold on to a lead player, is he? Let's be honest.
Here we go. You're in here though on the left hand side. Martinelli.
Bombing
Run across, Havertz. Run.
Cross in.
He doesn't make that run, mate.
Doesn't make any fucking runs.
Looking at the stats from today's game, lads, 13 shots to 8. And Liverpool have only had 1 on target. So Arsenal have done well in terms of just controlling the game. Odegaard looking on the edge of the box.
Get that shot off.
Arsenal are trying to work this towards the goal. Liverpool have got loads of players back.
It's just one of those ones where it's bouncing around in the area. It scares
that
you,
stadium, by the way, that
Bloody
stadium
hell.
will be bouncing right now.
100%.
Honestly, it's one. Yeah, yeah.
Kivior, yellow card. That's not good, is it?
If Arsenal win this, does anyone put them as the favourites for the league, or
No, look.
Would
as
anyone
an
do that?
Arsenal fan, I'm not making us favourites, but this keeps us in the
it's a big psychological win though.
Darwin Nunes is a fucking strong human. Like,
Yeah.
the way he's held off Saliba there was impressive.
And I tell you what, Saliba
Is a beast.
he's a beast. He's a Rolls Royce of a defender. He's looked a little bit edgy today.
Absolutely.
He really has looked edgy. And that is. It's
Do you know what I can say though?
stupid,
I think that
Kivior.
that both of these teams usually they're used to being, the big dog in a game, but I think they've both got so much respect for each other that the nervousness is palpable, and that's why 2 goals on either side have conceded. Where you're looking at them going, these 2 great sides would never normally concede goals like this, but the pressure is getting to them.
Mate, not just great sides, but we're probably talking about 2 best centre-backs in the league, Van Dijk and Saliba, certainly the most composed centre-backs in the
I'd
league.
say so, yeah.
But in terms of what you're saying, these are 2 centre-backs who are used to seeing the game in front of them. These are teams who are used to seeing the game played in front of them, whereas suddenly now you've got players buzzing around you, running behind you, and we're watching, I'd say, 2 of the best central defensive partnerships in the league, obviously City up there as well, being put under stress that they're never put under before. And if anyone's got questions about the quality of these defenders, they're going to get questions asked over the next 20 minutes.
And this, for me, look, we were giving credit to Liverpool in the last kick-off because of how well they played without Mo Salah. But the bottom line is I was having this conversation with you guys about, and people saying, "Oh, Mo Salah, they're playing just as well without him." Today, against Chelsea. In this game, you can see the difference without Mo Salah, in my opinion. There's a massive difference. And he is the player in these kind of games who will put the fucking shirt on his back and fucking go and make sure you get at least a draw in this situation. And they don't look anywhere near as dangerous.
He's one of the best in the league. Like, that's the caliber
One of the
player
best
we're
ever,
talking.
mate.
Yeah.
And I think, what I'm saying is, in my opinion, next season Mo Salah will be in the Saudi league because from the as soon as they bought Newcastle, a mate of mine who's well connected said Mo Salah is the player that they want. The Saudi Arabian directors and that. And it's been coming, and I think that they went there. They tried to move for him in the summer. It's going to happen next summer, and I think Jurgen Klopp has had a private agreement with Salah. Well, let's go of it. Come on, but I think next season we'll see. Liverpool they're going to need a hell of a player. I guess the question for the table is, how the fuck do you replace Mo Salah? Like, who do you go and get? Because there is no one who's going to give you everything he gives you. But what's the best option given that Mbappe is going to Real Madrid by the looks of it?
Do you replace him, or can someone from within step up and sort of take the reins a little bit? You never know. We look at Luis Diaz. I think that we haven't seen half of what he can offer. I think he's a really good player, and he could come to the forefront. Obviously, you'd imagine at the moment someone like a Darwin Nunes is too inconsistent. Craig, Anfield agenda. Do you remember who he said it would be when he was sat here?
He wanted the West Ham lad, didn't he?
Jared Bowen.
Yeah.
Jared Bowen.
I think Bowen's a
When he
solid
sort of said
choice.
that, I was thinking, are you going to laugh in a second? Are you joking? Or are you being serious? And that sounds very disrespectful for me saying that. When you look at Bowen's numbers, they're ridiculous. But you don't really look at that sort of player and think, oh, you could be the one. But actually, it's pretty reminiscent of Sadio Mane. Sadio Mane, a player who's doing it numbers-wise really well for a smaller Premier League club, goes into Liverpool, becomes a world beater. So maybe he's not far off the money there. Maybe it could be a Jared Bowen.
Yeah, it might be. I think you just got to look from within, and you can use us as an example. Harry Kane left. We were like, what are we going to do? Like, who's going to come up with the goals? The players had to step up and take the responsibility themselves. Richarlison, who wasn't firing last season, is now firing. Son stepped up, started firing, wasn't firing last season. So maybe Nunes and Diaz can find that next level. We still think there's more to come from Nunes. Diaz is a fantastic player. So can he just take it to the next level? Obviously, they're going to have to bring someone in regardless, but maybe those players that are already there can just find another level.
The one for me that I'm looking at is Pedro Neto at Wolves. I think he could come in and in that system play so well.
Do you know what the thing with
so quick.
Arsenal are looking for a wing as well, and I've looked at him a lot. The thing is, when you're looking at watch how these teams have played today. It relentless, non-stop, go, press, front foot. When you're talking about a player whose hamstring explodes once a month in Pedro Neto, I think you just have to ask questions about whether he's actually got the physical capabilities. Because one thing you look at Mo Salah and say, physically, he's an absolute beast. Tip-top condition, and he presses from the front constantly, as do the rest of Liverpool's forwards. I love Neto, and I think he's an amazing player. And in terms of wingers, I think he's right up there. I don't know if he's got the legs to consistently run the way that Liverpool need their forwards to run.
Yeah. But I have to say, today he was all over the place. I know he's only playing us, so that doesn't give you everything you need to know. But I mean, he was very good today.
He was all over the place.
And do you know what? Like you say about his hamstrings, he was using quick sprints today. He was using his acceleration. So I think he's a really good option for them. I'll tell you another player that I've heard mentioned in terms of Liverpool is Rafael Leao at AC.
Do you know what it is?
£175 million release clause.
Mate. You know what's mad about him? Well, I watched him obviously against Newcastle. He was fucking outrageous.
Incredible.
Do you know what? Fucking end product was non-existent.
Yeah.
Like, and if you look at his stats from what I've heard anyway, I haven't checked them up, but like everyone says, like his goals and assists. When you watch him play, you think he's fucking Cristiano Ronaldo, but like it's like
Previous to this season,
we've watched
previous
him
to
a
this
couple
season,
of times
yes.
against Chelsea.
The only thing I'll say with him,
Reece James was on the pitch.
but still, like, you know, he didn't score against Newcastle. We got a draw in San Siro. Do you know what I mean? But he was terrifying. But the end product wasn't there.
This season his numbers are down, but previous to that his numbers have been very good.
24. That stuff does come later sometimes. Do you know what I mean? Like Salah wasn't getting 30 goal seasons at the age of 24.
He fucking looks like a Liverpool player. There's no doubt about that.
Mate,
he looks like a
love
Klopp
Liverpool
player, but Klopp won't be there. But
Yeah, we don't even know what the manager's going to be as well.
I mean, if it is Alonso, like we're kind of expecting, I mean, it feels like.
Yeah, but why
wow,
are we
what an
so?
effort.
I get because obviously the links, but remember Alonso was at Real Madrid for not far off the time he was at Liverpool for. Real Madrid.
Carlo Ancelotti's going to be there for at least another year.
Yeah, he's re-signed for a little while.
He's there for another year,
At
is he?
least.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Well, the only one I will say, if it is Xabi Alonso, and I'm not sure it will be, and I'm not sure if I was Liverpool if I'd want it to be, because as I said on the last show, like I think sometimes when you're losing like a legacy manager like Klopp, you almost want someone who's just going to come in and keep you alive for a year. Do you know what I mean? Like with us, it was Emery, and then we went for another legacy manager in Arteta. There's a player playing under Xabi Alonso right now, Florian Wirtz, mate. 20 years old.
We know all about Wirtz, mate.
Yeah.
We've been flirting with him for no, but we have though, haven't
But
we?
he's a different type of player. And this is the thing about the Xabi Alonso to Liverpool stuff. He plays a very different kind of football. He plays with wing backs. He plays with inside forwards. Mate, I'm trying not to watch this.
He's coming off.
I'm trying to talk about anything apart from the fact
So-
that Bukayo Saka's down.
Saka's on the floor holding his own.
Alonso, I mean, the fact that they're undefeated this season, Leverkusen, is outrageous. And one of the things that I assume Bayern Munich will be thinking, because of the way the Tuchel's got quite a volatile time over there, it seems. I don't think they're fully buying
I mean,
in.
Tuchel is a volatile
He
manager.
certainly is, and we know he likes to get around and do his things off duty. Do you know what I mean?
I was waiting for
Have
it.
a little bit of bit of fun here and there. What's the harm? He's not a professional footballer.
I don't like Tuchel.
Mate, if I'm looking at Alonso, I'm looking at Arteta and I'm thinking these little Spanish midfielders from that sort of generation, they're not faring their hand badly in management,
No, they
are
know
they?
football for sure. Yeah, I mean, I think it would be a no-brainer to give it a go, because at this stage, like, no one's going to be the next Klopp, and you've got this young guy who's tearing it up. Why not try it? Like, and that's the thing, is there's no real, like, other than him, there's no one just crying out in terms of management to go and be chosen.
You have to sort of name one though. Like, I know he's at a club at the minute, but Tuchel.
Yeah.
I'd
but
hate it.
he's about to
But I
make.
tell you what, mate, Tuchel would do it at Liverpool.
Mate,
He's about to make Bayern not win the league, bro.
When you say about
Bayern are sacking.
a manager being able to come in and hit the ground running, I believe that Tuchel could come in,
I agree.
take over that Liverpool side, and have them in and around that.
But would you want that if Xabi Alonso has just dethroned Bayern Munich, and that's the reason he gets the sack?
You'd have to
Wouldn't
ask
you
a
want,
Liverpool fan.
Would
I
you
don't
want the
care,
manager that
but-
got him the sack rather than
I think Tuchel is destined to be at United. I think that's the one that happens. You know?
No,
I
really?
can see it totally.
The fear for me would be that I feel like Liverpool as a dressing room tend to have had quite a harmonious, good team spirit. Like, they play for each other, and they're a nightmare for that reason. Tuchel, I'm not sure I would be able to get that same feeling.
Yeah.
The headlines if Tuchel goes to United, some of the falling out, some of the wars he'd go to, mate. For the drama alone, I want Tuchel to United. It'd be so much
United?
fun.
Oh, okay.
Mate, imagine Rashford going on
didn't-
his benders when Tuchel's in the office.
Yeah.
He'll be on the benders with him.
Maybe we had a better behaved squad or something, but Tuchel didn't really have that many fallings out with players when he was at his time at Chelsea. Every manager has a couple of bits and pieces here and there, but most of
Side
Tuchel's
pieces.
ones seem to be with the board, or the board with him.
Yeah, fair. Well, I mean, I would love to see. I think, look, if I was a Man United fan, I'd be thinking Tuchel would be a much better choice than Ten Hag personally. But what do I know?
I think this game's over. You know.
Do you think so?
Liverpool they ain't shown anything.
No,
I can't, they're not laying a glove on Arsenal.
Well, you can see we've moved into a bit more of a mid-block now, where we're letting them have the ball in their own area of the pitch, and if they come into the middle, we press. But like
they actually don't look like they know what to what the automatic answer is. Yeah.
Do you think there's a world in which Xabi Alonso turns down the Liverpool job because he wants the Real Madrid job and just waits a year, continues his form at Leverkusen, and just sits it out?
Well, this is
there's a world that happens in. It's not beyond the realms of possibility.
Do you think it's likely?
It's only his second season at Leverkusen at the moment.
Yeah,
like if I was him, and he's a very, very young manager, I don't think I'd be in a rush to do anything.
No,
like especially when you're looking at what's happening at Liverpool right now. Now, Brian, saying about Salah going. We obviously had, as soon as the Klopp news came out, there was word that Van Dijk might not be sure about what he's going to do. I'd be looking at Liverpool. They've done a really good job of rebuilding their midfield. If they've got to replace Van Dijk and Salah in the summer, I'm not sure I'd really want to jump straight into that job now. Do you know what I mean?
It's a high-pressure job to come into.
It's a high-pressure job. Look, they've got some really good young players, Liverpool. I'm not going to sit here when we're 2-1 up knocking them because they might score a goal in a minute. But if I was Xabi Alonso, I'd be like, well, why not one more season in the Bundesliga?
I disagree for one reason. I think everything you've just said makes sense, but to get offered the Liverpool job, fuck me. You've got to have some fucking balls on you to turn that down. Like, that is one of the biggest jobs in football, and you're at Leverkusen. Like, I don't know how many managers can be at Leverkusen saying no to Liverpool because I think I'm going to get a job.
Do you not
there.
think a lot of managers would be scarred by the whole David Moyes to United experience? Like, following the greatest manager in that club's Premier League history, it's not easy, man.
Do you know what it is?
You'd rather be the one that follows the follower.
Do you know what it is, though?
Wow, Havertz was brilliant.
Alonso has this air about him, which he was one of the most coolest motherfuckers, and he had this air about him.
I mean, the goal he scored against you boys, it was from his own half, wasn't it?
He's absolute bastard for that.
Yeah.
And I just feel like where Moyes never had an air about him, and never, he was the workman-like guy who built his confidence up slowly but surely. I just feel like Alonso will have the arrogance to believe he can do the job. And if he's the first motherfucker to dethrone Bayern Munich, that ain't going to do anything but build confidence for him. Like,
do you know what I'd be interested to know, right? When we're using this comparison, we're talking about the David Moyes one. David Moyes was the chosen one. Sir Alex Ferguson pretty much said, I think it should be David Moyes.
He hadn't selected him. Yeah.
Do you think that Klopp would have any involvement?
He said no.
He said he's not going to have. Right, okay.
Which I think is the smartest move because it kind of reflects badly on you if it goes tits, right? Like, you just go, you do your thing.
I also think it creates a pressure on the manager that comes in that doesn't help whatsoever.
Yeah.
I think it's made so much worse. All this United stuff, all this, who's going to park in Fergie's spot? The fact that he's always in the ground, I think it makes it a lot harder for anyone who comes in. I think the best thing that Wenger ever did at Arsenal is go, I'm just stepping away. I'm letting you guys do what you need to do. I don't want cameras panning to me when you lose a game. I don't want people worrying about parking in my spot.
It was think that was different, though?
Of course it's different.
No, I just mean because of the way Wenger was kind of hounded out, really.
Well, of course it was, and I think there's definitely bad feeling on that part. I still think, in terms of the effect it has on the manager that came in afterwards, I think it helped Arteta.
Right.
And by the way, Wenger has come back to Arsenal. He came back when we beat West Ham last season. I think he was at the West Ham game this season as well. But it was on Arteta's. Like, he had the agency to be able to decide when.
Do you know what I'd do? I'm so egotistical. I'd pick someone that's absolutely rubbish just to make myself.
Should have been a goal.
I'd go, I tell you what, give it back to Brendan Rodgers. Give it back to him. Let's find out what was in that envelope.
Do you know what it is, though? Yeah,
He's onside
that's
as well.
Huge fucking
He's
chance.
onside.
That is a huge chance.
Free header.
That should be 3-1.
Acres
Nunes.
Of course, Darwin Nunes.
Oh, he's just hit Astrid Wet.
Look at that.
What was that?
He's a joke, guy.
Was that serious? Was that a serious cuddle?
I think they're having.
But how do you do all of this and then just completely miss the target? You don't cross it or hit the target. Like, what the fuck is he?
He just celebrated right
Look
in
at
his face
Havertz back there putting a shift in. He does work hard, doesn't he?
He does work. Look, I've got to say to Havertz, there's been moments where I got really frustrated, and there's going to be many more moments over the course of his career where I'm going to say some things, especially on Instagram, at Jacob Hawley. The point is, he's run a good game today, Havertz. He hasn't stopped pressing their defence. He's received. Mate, I'm not saying he's played well. I'm saying he hasn't stopped running. I'm saying he's pressed.
And when they put the 65 million down, they said, I'll tell you what, as long as this fella presses...
Yeah, it's based on that.
Isn't isn't it a bit like Nunes though? Like he's just created chaos.
Absolutely, mate. Honestly, that's a bang-on comparison. It's exactly that. He troubles defences. He causes havoc. There is a reason that you're watching the most composed defender and the best goalkeeper that I think's ever played the game having mixed up like they did for that Martinelli goal. It's because they've been put under pressure the entire game. And we spoke about Eddie Nketiah at the start of this. I think Eddie Nketiah is a better finisher than Kai Havertz. Those defenders don't get that stressed when they're playing against Eddie Nketiah.
Fact.
Yeah.
Big fact.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man, this is a mad game. I think that look, if Arsenal can see this out, this is a huge result for them. Like in terms of confidence building, it means that they've kind of overcame a little bit of that mental issue that they had recently. It's huge for them.
The thing I'd say about this game, and I'm not gonna fucking say anything yet because we haven't won it yet. Like if we do hold on to this lead, and by the way, it's a big if because I think right now we want to be bringing on players that can see a game out, and we've got no one to bring on. If we get these 3 points, I'm not going to sit here and say, right, the title's on. Man City beware, here we come. What I am going to say is we've shown a few times this season that when the pressure's on, we can have the biggest teams in Europe come to our backyard and we can win games. And that makes me look at the Champions League and go, that's interesting.
I agree.
Champions League final, where's it played this year?
At Wembley.
And we like Wembley. So all I'll say is right now I'm looking at this and I'll tell you what, as good as we've been today, I think there's going to be other games this season where we don't score enough goals. And I've said it a million times on this show, attacks win leagues, defences win cups. And apart from that mix-up we had, defences look pretty good. I'm touching every bit.
They say football's written sometimes. If Arsenal do get to the Champions League final at Wembley, you know who's meeting them there.
Is that?
Bayern Munich. Harry Kane.
You think so? I don't think they're going to get there. Bayern look horrible.
Just sounded good,
nice
though,
story,
didn't
doesn't it?
It did sound good.
Fucking hell. Good old Harry Kane, who's gone all the way to Germany.
And he's not going to win a league.
Trophy.
I know.
horrible.
And Granit Xhaka and Xabi Alonso are ripping the Bundesliga away from him. Unbelievable.
That is crazy. They'll win it next year, though.
I'd kind of...
Mate, imagine he wins it and then Xabi Alonso stays and does another season.
Yeah.
Kane just goes back to Spurs and goes,
Yeah.
yes, the grass wasn't green.
If there's one man who wants Xabi Alonso to go to Liverpool, it's Harry Kane right now.
100%.
Have you heard the rumours about Mason Greenwood?
What rumours?
Well, Barcelona, Real Madrid. Well, I mean, aside from
him getting signed by one of them?
Well, yeah, but the big boys coming after him.
Kai there again.
That's
I think that's red card.
He's off.
Is that it?
That's another yellow. He's off. He's got a yellow already.
There we go.
By the way, respect to Kai Havertz there because again, first touch, brilliant. He's the focal point again, and mate, he makes that by beating him.
Jurgen Klopp! What a surprise! Imagine my shot.
Your mate, Brian.
Honestly, Jurgen Klopp gives the thumbs up to the referee for sending off Konate. He's really handled it well. That's all I can say. He's literally applauding the referee. Like, how can you not get a booking for that as a manager as well, giving him a thumbs up for sending someone off?
Like, this is a blatant yellow card. Like, he just stops
He's just
from
body
running.
to money. Body to body, 2 men.
No interest in playing the ball. You're not going
His hands
nowhere.
are up. Yeah, fair enough. I thought he just ran into it.
I mean,
His hands are
it's
raised.
more evidence
Havertz
of what we
probably
were
ain't
saying
getting through that
about
gap.
Havertz, though, just causing problems.
That's
Yeah.
it. But this is what Kai does. Like, we've watched him this season. Physically, he's brilliant. Like, he provides a focal point. He runs defenders. He presses. He's never going to be a composed finisher. I still look at the goal Saka scored, and I look at what he tried to do in terms of his finish.
He hit it straight at the keeper.
It's awful. But
Here's the downfall of this Liverpool team and Klopp this season. The downfall has started. He should never have announced that he was leaving this early. And when Pep smokes that next cigar in May, I will say I told all of you so. Every single one of you that wants a fantasy fairy tale sending off for Klopp, all of these Arsenal fans that believe Arteta's really the man when he's just Pep's boot washer. I'm telling you, only one man's toting a cigar at the end of the season, and it is Pep Guardiola. I wish I knew his fucking middle name.
How are we 89 minutes into Arteta getting one over Klopp at the Emirates? We're talking about how Pep Guardiola...
Because it's the bigger picture.
Yeah.
It's the bigger picture,
Pep
mate.
smashed it in this one.
He did. It's the bigger
I have to say
picture.
Liverpool's composure is really going. I mean, obviously they're sending off.
Liverpool had to
but
win
they're
this.
giving the ball away very carelessly at the back, yeah.
Do you think, of course, when Klopp announced the decision that he'd be leaving at the end of the season, he had obviously weighed up the pros and cons, the risk and reward, and he had thought in that situation, it's going to benefit us more and drive us on and spur us on to bigger things if I announce it now, almost incentivization for the team. could be backfiring a little bit if they do go on a bad run now. Like, maybe you should just kept it to yourself and kept that extra amount of added do it for the manager pressure off of your shoulders.
Do you think the players knew? Like, do you think they found out when we found out, or do you think they already knew? Because I agree with what Brian said, by the way. I think to do with what happened with Salah last summer, surely he would have said, look, it's my last one, mate. Stick around for one more.
Yeah, but then would all of them have known? Or would that just be a scene?
What do you think?
Apparently, according to our good friend Antwoord Agenda, the players found out when the public found out.
No, that makes total sense.
Because they didn't want it being leaked.
So I was believing that already, because I feel like that he's been forced to pull the trigger a bit earlier than he wanted to on that. Because in the history of football, when players know that you're leaving, your leverage is reduced. Now with Klopp, it's different because he's a legendary manager and he doesn't
Sancho
and he doesn't need to rule with an iron fist in the same way some managers do, because Klopp's legacy is set in stone, and he's one of the greatest managers in Liverpool history. So he has that leverage regardless. He has power, but you are in some way diminishing that by saying, hey lads, I'm off this summer. Like, your long-term future as a footballer is not in the hands of that man anymore. So it can't help to know that a manager's going logically. I know some Liverpool fans may seriously disagree, and I understand that. There is a possibility that they could go, let's do it for good old Klopp, and somehow manage to get it over the line. But for me, it doesn't make logical sense that they'll perform better knowing a manager's leaving than... It's 3-1. Trossard.
No, can we talk about Alisson today, though?
Mate.
It went straight
we're not
through his legs.
slapping everyone. He's high-fiving the whole world.
He's done the Jose there. He's run down the line.
That is a special goal
Best
from
class.
Trossard. The way he beats his man, and there's nowhere else he can put that ball apart from where he does. Alisson,
Let's be
what a
honest.
day you've had,
We said just before that moment, Liverpool are capitulating a bit here in terms of the sending off. They're losing the ball carelessly at the back, and then they've gone to shit there a bit.
rattled.
Just as I was saying how Klopp maybe shouldn't have said everything to everyone, but that's just my opinion. Just my opinion.
This has been a huge performance from Arsenal.
It has.
I really think that at half time when we took Zinchenko off, we kind of gambled. We said, you know what, we're going to go toe to toe. As you put it, Brian, toe to toe with Deontay Wilder. We've landed 2 haymakers here, mate, and this is. That second goal, it's hard not to say it was a little bit fortunate, the mix-up between Van Dijk and Alisson. Since then... Can we just say, though, there's nothing fortunate when Liverpool have one shot on target in an entire game.
We've
controlled them.
You've absolutely controlled them. You've got 6 shots on target to their 1.
Mate, I sat here on Wednesday night watching them against Chelsea. I'm not saying this like beat Chelsea, but I was terrified. I was watching their attack. We were counting Darwin Nunes' chances. It was like 7 by the 12th minute. We're watching them today. Has Raya made a save?
Well, I mean, obviously the one shot. Well, I don't know that the shot on target counts because obviously it was an own goal that they scored. So yeah, I'm not even sure.
And I'll come back to what we were talking about. You were saying, would Ramsdale save that? Ramsdale makes a lot of saves that Raya doesn't make. Raya doesn't make many saves. You know why? Because he helps us control the game. And that ultimately, that is the philosophy behind why we change goalkeepers. I'll still say I don't like the way we've done it. I'll still say I think we could have handled it better. But the way that we play football now, it is about control. And this is why we don't concede chances, because having Raya in the team is like having a 5th defender.
So you did the right thing by changing goalkeeper.
We did the right thing, but did it the wrong way, if that makes sense. I do think that the Raya suits our football better than Ramsdale. I think Raya is slightly the better goalkeeper just because he's so good on the ball. But I think the way we handled it was wrong. And I think Raya's form speaks to that in terms of the way he played in the first half of this season.
Yep.
I have to say, it's funny, Arteta gives it the big one there, and obviously I completely understand why he's so happy and chuffed, but I have to say, it's still all to play for now. Like, Jurgen could still absolutely do this, and he could still go off with a huge...
in terms of the type,
better all to play for than none to play for, though, because if they had lost this match there, that would have been it. That would have been it for the season. Then you're in a battle for top 4.
But what you don't want to do against Jurgen Klopp is give it the big one now and celebrate in front of the crowd and do a Jose Mourinho run down the wing, and then basically Jurgen has the last laugh.
Doesn't matter. It's the second time they play each other this season anyway.
Do you know? Well, yeah, exactly. We're not going to get.
Not going to come face to face from again anyway.
The only thing I'll say with Arteta in terms of him running up and down the sidelines like that, like, I've got to be honest with you, I love being here with you boys. I'm gutted I'm not in that stadium today. Because when that stadium bounces, I'm telling you now, it absolutely fucking rocks. And the one thing that Arteta's done, and look, people criticise Arteta, especially people from outside the club, he's turned the Emirates into a place to be. Because I tell you what, for about 12 years, it was dog shit. It was awful. There's an atmosphere in that stadium now. And I tell you what, Klopp will say it himself, it's a horrible place to go for other teams. And look, I agree with you, mate. We might look back at the end of the season. I've got a £100 bet on with a Scouser I know. I'm not sure I'm getting my money because I think they still might finish above us. What he's doing is turning that stadium into a horrible place to go. He's getting those fans going because he's thinking about the fact we're in a knockout competition called the Champions League, where if Real Madrid come here, do they want to deal with this? Like 8 o'clock on a Wednesday evening when everyone's had a beer?
You think that's what he's kind of like gearing this towards, the Champions League?
It's not just the Champions League. He's turning that stadium into somewhere no one wants to go. He's turning it into a cauldron. And when he runs up and down that line, I'll tell you what, mate, I've been in there myself. We're dancing.
You need every advantage you can get, though.
I'm reading in between the lines with your words from this show. You think you're winning the Champions League, didn't you?
I might have a bet on it.
You do I can tell you think you're winning the Champions League.
I'm not going to go as far as saying I think we're going to win the Champions League. What I'm trying to say is the way that we have turned into a club who, I have to say, it's funny we're talking about Klopp and Liverpool. We're very similar in terms of the emotion, in terms of the way that we're led by our manager. But I think the way that we play football, we actually suit cup competitions more than league football.
I think that you guys have you've done yourselves a massive favour because if there's one thing that, you know, like obviously Arteta's learned a lot from Pep, but the one thing Pep can never do is have a cauldron-like atmosphere ever. No. We make jokes about Man City's atmosphere or lack thereof sometimes, you know, and I'm not. It's better, you know, it's harsh sometimes, but the point is like they will never have what yous have got there.
And it's not just about who goes to their stadium and how many fans they got. It's about the kind of managers they are. I think when you look at the way that Guardiola works, he wants things to be as clinical, as calm and as precise as possible. We're watching Klopp, it's the complete opposite. And the reason I'm not going to question when he announced when he's leaving is because the one thing Klopp's shown us is he's an absolute master of harnessing emotion and using it to get him over the line. So in terms of how he's timed it, he's got enough experience to know when to tell both his players and his fans when he's going to go.
I don't know, because he picked two clubs in Dortmund and Liverpool who have amazing fan bases with or without him. And I think that that is always going to be there. I think he's been fortunate to have that at his disposal. I get you though.
Is it fortune or is
look.
Mate,
Take that one.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of chicken and egg, isn't it? Is the atmosphere good because Klopp's there? Was the atmosphere
I think he helps it.
But I think he chose those clubs for that reason. We know he had other offers. We know that United were interested in Klopp at one point. I think Arteta, that's one area where he differs from Guardiola a little bit. He likes the emotion.
That is it. Full time and a hell of a win in the title race. Obviously, Liverpool stay top. Arteta, though, is still in this fight. Pep Guardiola, with 2 games in hand, could end up top of the league if he wins both of them. This is exciting. This
is what we want, right? When we talk about the Premier League, we don't want a Bundesliga, and I know that it's the worst time to say that because Bayern Munich might not win it this season. But we want a fight, right? You guys, you don't really have a horse in this race. You'd rather see Liverpool drop points today, and there's 3 teams going for this.
My fear is that Man City win those 2 games in hand, and all of a sudden this title race that we think is going to happen, they just fuck it off.
We get to go to the Etihad, and look, as I've said already, there's a lot of things about last season's Arsenal I miss free-flowing attacking football. I miss Gabby Jesus looking like a potent striker. I miss Granit Xhaka. I never thought I'd say that. The one thing we've done this season that we've never done this season is win games like this. We've beaten City in the Community Shield. We've beaten them at the Emirates. We've got to go to the Etihad next. If we can take points from them there. Look, I've said for a long time now, I think this title race is about head-to-heads. I think it's who wins the head-to-heads. And right now, Arsenal are looking pretty good in terms of head-to-heads.
I don't know, man. I don't doubt you lot in the big games, really and truly. Obviously, I know your record against the teams around you isn't as good as you'd want it to be, but I'm more worried about you against the smaller teams. That's what you've kind of shown this season.
I think that's
that little purple. No, it wasn't a purple patch, but that bad patch was against the smaller team. Who did you lose to in that?
We lost to West Ham. We lost to Fulham.
That's what I'm more concerned about.
Was it Bournemouth or Forest you dropped points against one? You lost to Fulham.
Yeah, I feel like Arteta can raise the players and the levels for games like this. I think that's what Arteta's good at. Whether you win them or not, he's good at galvanising the players and going, this is important. I think it's those games against the Fulhams where it's a bit like, When you get complacent and you think, yeah, we're going to beat them, we don't have to be at our best.
A couple of seasons ago, I remember I used to watch Arsenal and I used to think, yeah, you'll beat them, you'll beat the Fulhams, you'll beat the Forest, whatever. In the big games, I'll never make you a favourite. And now you're looking at Arsenal and you're going, I might make you a favourite in there. I don't know whether you're going to accumulate enough points come the end of the season to be winning it over a City or a Liverpool.
The difference for me is that the eras you're talking about, we used to have elite goal scorers. We could have a pretty flat game at home to Crystal Palace. Aubameyang pops up and scores a goal.
Yeah.
We don't have those players that pop up anymore. We just don't. And if we're going to do anything this season, either Martinelli, Saka or Gabriel Jesus need to put a cape on their backs and become that. Now, let's be honest, Martinelli got 15 goals, no penalties last season. It's decent. He's got it in his boots. We all know, because as well as being fans of our clubs, we're England fans as well. We know what Saka's capable of. We know where he could go in terms of his talent. If we're going to do it this season, I think it's probably either Martinelli or Saka need to just go, fuck it. I'm Mr. Arsenal now, and I'm going to go to the next level.
And that's the advantage that the other two have over you is they know they don't have to ask someone to put a cape on their back because they've got Haaland, De Bruyne, and Mo Salah, for example, is in there. Like they're just going to be at that level.
They don't need the level on their back.
Yeah, they don't need the level.
It's experience as well. It's experience as well with those teams. We like De Bruyne has been doing this for a very long time. Mo Salah's done this for a long time. We've still got a young team. We were the youngest last season. I think it's Chelsea now, the youngest team in the league. We're not the youngest anymore. There are still players who need to take the next step up. You were talking about Ødegaard earlier, mate. Last season, Ødegaard matched Lampard's record for non-penalty goals. He could be the guy who goes on a streak. I thought he was great today. I thought he was really good. Declan Rice, by the way. And one more that I'm going to shout out, Jorginho. On screen right now. I tell you what, most Arsenal fans, when we see a starting 11 with Jorginho in it, we go,
man of the match.
That's what I thought today.
Never lets us down in big games. Never lets us down. Newcastle last season, do you remember at your place? I watched him going into that game. I looked at Joe Linton, I looked at Bruno Guimaraes. I was like, you're going to get bullied today.
Yeah.
And he just doesn't.
You know what? Like I think that what you've just said is the reason why Arsenal won't win the Premier League, and that
I'm glad I talked you out of it, mate.
No, but just hearing that, I'm like, yeah, because like Isak walks into your team, and Newcastle should not have a player who walks into your team if you're going to win the league. And I just feel like the other ones have more reliable star players, and that could be the difference.
The only counter I'll make is that at the start of last season, before we went to
Odegaard taking photos,
before we went to the World Cup last season, Jesus was in red hot form. I think he had 6 or 7 goals in those 12 games.
Yeah.
We've kind of done the opposite to last season in terms of we've started slow.
Yeah.
We've started with a few injuries here and there. If he can hit that hot patch, which, by the way, we've seen him do for City. The season just before he left City, he hit a hot patch as well. If he can hit his hot patch at the end of this season, he could be the guy. There are players within that squad who have the ability, the talent, to be the guy who gets us over the line.
I agree.
It's just whether they will.
But in one-off games, in big games, particularly as Arteta has proven that he's great at motivating these players for, they can deliver that. It's just whether they can do it consistently. And that's kind of why, after hearing you talk today, I'm kind of thinking like it might be more likely that they win the Champions League than the Premier League. Like,
I think that's what we're built for.
Yeah.
Because I know, you know, you guys, I mean, Chelsea fans, you're the experts of this. You've watched your team have seasons where in the league they're not there. They can win a European trophy because you've got a good defence and you've got players who on their day can do it. I mean, look, Havertz walked into our team with a Champions League medal around his neck. And you look at him today, and I know you were laughing when I was saying he's had a good game. I'm actually going to put my chest in it now. Havertz had a good game today. He's never going to be silky. He's never going to be a good finisher. You ask those defenders how they felt playing against him today. He's a nightmare. And the thing is, if you go into a Champions League game where you play him in a certain way, he can be effective.
That's the title for the video. Havertz had a good game.
My face looking sick.
The absolute shock of it. This has been the kickoff. Big love to everyone who's watched, liked, subscribed. If you haven't already, hit the like button. Appreciate you all. Big love to the lads. Thank you very much, boys. Appreciate it. We'll be seeing you soon. Catch you on the next one. Cheers.